Call to order. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with Chapter 231 of Public Law 1975 entitled Open Public Meetings Act, Hardison Township Board of Education posted a meeting notice setting forth the time, date, and location of this meeting at the office of the Hardison Township Board of Education and on the district's website and mailed to the New Jersey Herald and to the office of the municipal clerk of Hardison Township. Can everybody please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, roll call, please.
Mr. Donna Carey. Here. Mr. Nick Demsack.
Here.
Mr. Brian Drellick.
Here.
Mr. Ron Hoffman.
Here.
Ms. Dana Calza.
Here.
Mrs. Susan Lucarelli. Absent. Ms. Clarissa Murata.
Here.
Mr. Edward Riley.
Here.
Ms. Kelly Stoll.
Here.
We have quorum.
Okay, great, thank you. Are there any updates to the agenda?
No updates to the agenda.
Okay, very good. We'll move on to committee reports. Starting us off, curriculum programs, ed tech, and community relations. Mrs. Carey.
Okay, our committee met on July 7th, 2026 at 5 p.m. We went over CP1 to approve listed staff travel professional development events at the NJ Science Convention, NJPCA/FEA Conference, Assistive Technology Summit. CP2 approved 3 out-of-district students for 2026-2027 school year with tuition. CP3 approved updated LEA guidance for virtual remote instruction plan for 2026-2027. Additional discussions were about nursing position, quick discussion about our special ed director, and discussions about P2260. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll do finance and facilities. Mr. Hoffman, the chair, was not present. We had a very brief finance and facilities meeting on Tuesday at the conclusion of our committee meetings. Included in tonight's agenda are the regular monthly motions for finance. And we did speak a little bit about the Mashio's contract, which is on the board agenda for tonight too, and that we are coming to the final year of the contract that we have with them. So that'll be something to look into as we move into the next school year. We also spoke a little bit about the continued roof repairs here at the middle school, as you guys probably saw walking in tonight. And I don't know if we actually talked about it in finance, but I know we talked about it in curriculum. The sign out front of the elementary school, JCP&L's, obviously they had a busy week this past week with the storms, but they're next up on the radar to do their part in getting that sign electrified, and then we'll wrap up what we need to do locally and determine the best way to launch and introduce the sign to the community when all those repairs, well, all the installations are complete. So, good. Any questions? Did I forget anything, Nick?
No, I just know I asked Ms. Verso in August, going to give us an update about end of the year leftover funds and get to see hopefully for some transfers into the maintenance reserve. But the bills list wasn't finalized at that time, so we're still fleshing that out. But in August we should have that. All
right, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Moving on to Mr. Demsack for personnel and negotiations, agreements and policy.
So the committee met the same day as everybody else. The entire committee was there. We reviewed the motions on the agenda. One is reapproving Ms. Verso as our school business administrator because the contract was finalized by the executive county, as well as the committee reviewed the process for the position of the director of special education. I'll let Monica and Jarlin perhaps speak to that later on if they want to, but it sounds very excited to hear the good things that come forward that was shared in the committee. There's approval of an aide as well as a substitute custodian as well as a long-term sub for the person who helps facilitate our STEM and Spanish program, as well as now we have a recommendation on the agenda for a custodian for the middle school.
Yes, middle school.
So those motions are there. We also reviewed POL 1, which is the second reading, so after tonight, if they get approved, they will go into effect. POL 2, lively discussion in regards to equity in school and classroom practices. It was decided amongst the committee to leave the policy as it is on the agenda for first reading. Just a reminder, this is a first reading. And then POL 3 is we have to approve the second readings, and then we abolish those policies that are listed there as they will be obsolete. We also did discuss the addition and the need for a part-time nursing position, because it was discussed in the curriculum as well. So that was shared, and Monica went over the rational reasons for that too, which that position is being filled right now. So that's all we have to report.
Okay, thank you, Nick. My report tonight is very brief. I don't have anything even formally written. It is July, and we are in the summer. I do want to thank everybody for being here. We know we moved meetings around for this month and next month, so I appreciate everybody's participation and attendance tonight. Also, first board meeting with our new incoming superintendent, Jarlin Barris, with us at the table up here. So, 2 superintendents and an attorney at the board table tonight. How about this? Yeah, this is a place to be on a summer night. Look at us. So it's nice to have everybody present. This is, speaking of that, Kathy is en route, I hope?
She is. She was coming closer to 7:30.
Okay, good.
She knew she was after the agenda.
Okay, good. I was just thinking about Kathy. Kathy is going to host our annual district goal and board goal setting tonight, but as I just was about to say that, I was thinking to myself, we have all these guests here, but we don't have Kathy, so she'll be here shortly. I just wanted to, acknowledge and thank you guys for being here, and also make note of a couple things. The graduation ceremony a couple weeks ago was a beautiful night for our graduates. Thank you to Donna and Dana for being present with me that night. The kids did a great job with the speeches, and the night worked out wonderfully. So, and tonight, as we think about the district goals and board goals, is always a night I enjoy. I look forward to everybody's participation and input into what things will look like here over the next year, the exciting time that we have with new superintendent coming in, new director of special ed coming in. So I look forward to that later tonight. And that's all I have for tonight, so thank you. Which one?
I'm going to give this one.
Okay.
Just to let you know, usually the association has a report, but she said she did not have a report for this month, so that was removed from the agenda. First thing is that the drill report is hyperlinked in your agenda if you want to take a look at it for the month of June. It has been very busy since our last meeting. Highlights from this time include field days at both schools, a 4th grade clap out and promotion ceremony, a beautiful 8th grade graduation and award ceremony, the first ever clap out for our former Harvested students who graduated from high school this year. PTA put that together, and thanks to everyone who helped to make that happen. I think it was a very touching, hopefully, annual event. Extended school year program started on June 29th and will run through July 30th. The custodial staff have been really busy, cleaning and preparing our buildings for September. Administration and front office staff have been scheduling for September and enrolling new students. The business office staff, they've been handling closing out the 25-26 financials and opening up the 26-27 year, and that includes ordering all the supplies for next year. And our administrative team has been keeping very busy, interviewing for a variety of positions, and will continue that in the coming weeks. And in case anyone is wondering, school starts again in 53 days for teachers and 55 days for students.
Why would you say that? That's so quick.
I know, right?
My heart.
I couldn't believe it when I counted it out today.
It's going quick.
And that is my report.
Okay, thank you. I won't tell my kids about that, Ms. Rowland, that's 55.
Okay.
Whatever you just said. You gave the fire and safety drill. Okay, and then Kathy, we'll wrap around to Kathy for district goals when she arrives after the regular agenda tonight. Is there any public comment on agenda items? Okay, moving on. Old business, can I get a motion to adopt? I'll make a motion to adopt old business. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Questions or discussion? You see the meeting dates there for the rest of the year. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Dempsey?
Yes.
Mr. Drellick?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Ms. Calza?
Yes.
Ms. Lucarelli? Ms. Murata?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Ms. Stoll?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, there's no first executive session. New business? Anything for new business? Okay. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from our June 9th regular meeting and annual reorg. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Dempsey?
Yes.
Mr. Drellick?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Ms. Calza?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucarelli? Ms. Murata?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Ms. Stoll?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Hit reports. We do have one, right, Ms. Rowland?
We have two that need to be presented in executive session later.
Oh,
We do
okay.
not have one to approve right now.
Okay. All right. So make a motion to adopt, am I still making a motion tonight then if we're doing it later?
No,
No,
because it's going
right?
to be presented
Okay,
tonight.
so there's gonna be presented tonight, so I'll skip that. All right, moving on to finance, Mr. Hoffman.
Could I have I'd like to make a motion to approve F1 through F6. Could I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Call it, please.
Mrs. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Dempsey?
Yes.
Mr. Drellick?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Ms. Calza?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucarelli? Ms. Murata?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Ms. Stoll?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve FO1 through FO2. Well, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's right.
It is.
Mhm.
Yeah, well,
Just as one.
yeah,
It's just,
It'll be two.
yeah. FO2. Could I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Please call
Mrs. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Dempsey?
yes.
Mr. Drellick?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
it. Yes.
Ms. Calza?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucarelli? Ms. Murata?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Ms. Stoll?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Carey, curriculum and programs?
Motion to approve CP1 and CP2. Can I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Dempsey?
Yes.
Mr. Drellick?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Ms. Calza?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucarelli? Ms. Murata?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Ms. Stoll?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Dempsey, personnel?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to approve P1 through P6 as listed on the agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Any questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none, please call
Mrs. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Dempsey?
it. Yes.
Mr. Drellick?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Ms. Calza?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucarelli? Ms. Murata?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Ms. Stoll?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Drellick, before we move any further, can we recognize and introduce our new Director of Special Ed?
Yes, please.
All right, Dr. Melissa Sable, would you like to just introduce yourself to the board? Welcome. No.
How you doing?
Okay.
Hi, I'm Melissa Sable. I am very happy to be here. I've been a resident of Sussex County for my entire life. So this is kind of like my backyard, and I am super excited to come forward and to work with everyone here.
Great.
Congratulations. Welcome.
Congratulations.
I'd like to make a motion to approve POL 1, which has the second reading of the policies and regulations on the agenda. Can I have a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments, discussion about the POL 1 policies, regulations? Hearing none, call it.
Mrs. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Dempsey?
Yes.
Mr. Drellick?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Ms. Calza?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucarelli? Ms. Murata?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Ms. Stoll?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd I'd like to make a motion to approve POL 2, which is the first reading of the policy listed on the agenda. Could I get a second?
Second.
Questions, comments, discussion?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
I support the goal of the policy 2260. However, I had some concerns about the balance. Its focus on the representation and a gap narrowing could unintentionally limit challenge to our gifted and talented students under policy 2464. I offered simple, friendly amendment, which was rejected. I know it's a first reading, but as a curriculum chair, I think that we should at least exercise that or talk among the entire board, what everybody feels or thinks about this. So that's all I have to say, because even I went onto the Gifted and Talented website just to read what the Gifted and Talented program offered, and basically it said, Google Docs, sorry, the file you have requested has been deleted. So this is the Gifted and Talented program as it shows on our website, and that's really not acceptable. In addition, I just want to mention that the director of the curriculum has not come to the curriculum meetings for the past 4 times, and I understand Ms. Rowland explained two of the instances, being on vacation and one to represent her in her place. I would like to see her return, or at least come up with a different time that's convenient for her to meet, because it's very important that curriculum committee has a curriculum director present. Thank you.
I would just like to correct, it's only 3 times that she has not been there, and once was at my request, and once was because she was on vacation. She was at the April meeting, because that was my first meeting.
But I don't think she was in March meeting, because there was only 3 of us. I don't think you were present as well. It was just.
I didn't start until April, so I wouldn't be able to speak.
She was at the last meeting with Dr. Ryder.
Okay, but
She was.
Then there was a meeting afterwards. It was just the 3 of us. I think it was just myself, you, and maybe Robin, that nobody was there. It was a very.
Well, Monica was there. Right.
Well, 3, 4 times, I don't know, 10, 1, would like to invite back the director of curriculum into our committee, because it's important that we actually can ask her questions about the programs and understand what is being presented.
So
Thank you.
I would like to address, not the latter part because I'm not on the curriculum, but I did get your email in regards to the last minute edition that you sent after the committee met. And I responded saying I disagreed. And the reason why I disagree is because, and I said this in committee, one policy does not overrule another policy. So you bringing up concerns about gifted and talented, even though it's not mentioned in this policy, we have a policy on gifted and talented. So us passing and approving a policy for equity for students in need does not, by doing so, take away the rights of gifted and talented, especially if we have a policy for it. And I did bring this up in committee because it was brought up by another member, and I said, if we had that philosophy where one policy would overrule all other policies, you would only have one policy, or what is the point of having the manual? So just keep that in mind, that we do have a different policy that is geared towards gifted and talented, and this one is geared towards equity and ensuring that we are providing equity and resources to students who are in those protected classes according to the New Jersey state law. So that was the first part. The second, it is a first reading. I mean, we considered your first editions, but when the committee meets, I'm not going to just overrule and say we're going to add this thing that you added and send to us.
Well, I suggested that. I didn't tell anybody what to do. I just expressed my,
Yeah, it's a suggestion that you
concerns.
asked us to add it, but I'm not going to arbitrarily add something as one person after the committee meeting has already adjourned. And I already gave my opinion on it, but there's 3 other members, and we can discuss it before the second reading, as this is a first reading. It was decided amongst the committee members to not include all of the original things that you sent. And I did explain that by adding this stuff, it kind of it obfuscates, which means confuses, I think, by purpose, the intentions of what this committee, this policy is for, which is that specific population of students and ensuring that they have resources and equitable purposes. And you know, I've had this conversation before about, you know, because it seems like over the last few years, when the word equity comes up, it's a debate of equity versus equality and that, and I'm willing and capable of having that conversation, but fair is not always equal, and what my child needs might not be the same as what your child needs, but as long as we are giving everything we can for them, and this policy ensures that we're doing that. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. And that's what I'll say about that. Did you want to add?
Yeah, just from what I'm overhearing, I don't think Donna's really pushing of that equity stuff. I'm not 100% sure. But from what I feel is she goes on the website and it says there's the page is deleted. Can we spin it more where she's just looking for the, what's the class called? The gifted and talented to just be maybe upgraded or a little bit more attention.
I concur with that.
I think we all would agree with that. I think that's kind of what I'm looking at.
We
Maybe
spoke-
focus a little bit on it.
We spoke about that at length during the committee meetings the other night about any concerns that, and certainly dead links could be corrected and should be corrected, but improving or upgrading gifted and talented program is something that we can speak with the superintendents about and work with local district leadership to, and the staff to see how we can make that program more robust. I don't personally see that as linked to this policy language at all. I see that as, and perhaps it's something that we discussed tonight, about an area that we would like to see more progress in and more opportunity for students who are in that program, and for us to learn more about how that even operates, because that has been kind of a running dialogue between many of us for many years about the gifted and talented program here. But I see that as a different entity than this policy, is how I see it.
Yeah, well, I'll agree to that, and I think we all agree to put a little heart and soul into the gifted and talented, but I agree with you. It's
Right.
might be some miscommunication of how it's taken, but I think it is a separate issue, I think.
Yeah, it is. I looked at it as we only have a certain amount of teachers, we only have a certain amount of resources. My concern was not to diminish that gifted and talented program to take care of other situations, and that's all I was looking to supplement, not to remove, and that's all I'm talking about. I want this to be upfront and forwarded to, just something that this program doesn't get smaller and smaller as the years go by.
So I think we could look at the gifted and talented policy in the committee and see what they're doing, and see if there's a regulation that does that. But I know, like Monica, that's a separate issue, which is to the forefront. But again, I just want to clarify, the policy on the agenda is about equity and ensuring that all of our students that have needs get the resources. So that would include gifted and talent, but gifted and talent is not a protected class. This is about our students according to law that have those protected classes, which we cannot deny.
Right, I
And this
understand
came
that,
from
but
Strauss.
I think I've explained myself. I just don't want that program to diminish, and if it's not talked about, it possibly could, so I'm just bringing it up, and
Yeah, I think,
we're talking about it.
I think we all agree that we have some work to do and would like to kind of work on the gifted and talented program. I also think that's really far afield from the policy that we're on right now, so for the sake of the agenda and keeping things moving, unless anybody has anything else to say on the actual policy that's the subject of POL2.
Send gifted and talented back to a committee. You're chair of the curriculum committee, that's part of curricular programs as well. So you can talk about it there.
Great, thank you. That's all I have.
Is there any other questions, comments, discussion? All right, please call it for POL2.
I need a second.
Second.
Oh,
That's what Ron did.
there was a second. Ron seconded it.
Oh, he did?
Oh, Ron did, yes.
Okay, so it's the previous one he did, I'm sorry. Oh, actually, I do have it, sorry.
It's okay.
Mrs. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Dempsey?
Yes.
Mr. Drellick?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Ms. Calzuck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucarelli? Ms. Murata?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Ms. Stoll?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve POL3, which is an abolishment of the policies listed as they are covered in the ones who we just had a second reading for.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none, please call
Mrs. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Dempsey?
it. Yes.
Mr. Drellick?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Ms. Kelzak?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucarelli? Ms. Murata?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Ms. Stoll?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any written communication?
None.
Okay. Any public comment on agenda or non-agenda items? Seeing none. Hi, Kathy. We will have executive session, so I'll make a motion to move into executive. Can I have a second, please, for legal matters?
Second.
Thank you, Ed. At 7:30.
You want to do the, do you want Kathy's here? Oh,
Oh.
no, we're doing now. Okay, okay.
Okay, so if no action on the exec session items will be taken,
Yep.
I hope it's 10 minutes.
Yeah, it should.
Okay.
You know.
All right, we'll be back at 7:40. We could do this. We've shrunk the time every month. We could do it.
Have you officially? Okay, just hang on. Are you using, unless you want to sit for the whole time? Yeah, okay, so just hang out. 5 minutes. No, we go to this, we go to.
Sorry.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Congratulations. Welcome. Okay.
I didn't go over the dates of like every bag. Somebody sorted them all and everybody were
Do you have to go? Melissa, no?
No, I was gonna put your contact in.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And you mean it. I'll see you soon.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I was talking to Monica today and I found out that you were going to be approved tonight. I didn't realize that you were, so that's nice.
Yes.
That's nice.
Yes.
Jarlin's great. And so is Monica. Oh, and there's Jarlin.
We're really excited to have Melissa with us.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's excited for you to come on board, so good.
I'm very excited.
Excellent.
I told her we have a lot of work ahead of us, but you're gonna do
That's
it.
okay.
Yeah, no, it's necessary work, and as it gets done, everyone will be really happy. It'll
Yeah.
do a world of good for the culture and climate around here, so.
How are you? Good, good. Caitlin's actually our OT. She's leaving us. We're sad she's leaving us.
Is this on, by the way? Are we being recorded when we do this?
I don't think they paused it.
Okay.
somehow. I don't even know how we can pause it.
I don't want to touch it, I don't know. But I also don't want to be on it, so.
Did you pause? Did you?
Anything interesting.
Here, maybe?
Here. Pause. Pause again. Oh, I think it's paused. It's blinking now. This is good. Hope they edit the recording. Oops.
I see the minutes and stuff still.
I can get that. That might be a stop, but that might not be a bad thing. There's a play button there.
So now.
Yeah, so if you push that one again.
We gotta get it?
Okay. It is now time for our annual goal setting, and I would like to welcome up our dear friend, Miss Kathy Hellewa, to lead us, much as she did all winter long. Welcome back.
Back here. I mean,
Missed you.
it is a,
We did miss you.
should I use this guy, or, I mean, we're
I
recording,
think
or?
there's a button on top, we should just switch it up.
It'll turn
Put
green.
It's slides.
Oh, okay, I think I see it.
Did it turn
Yeah,
green?
there's a green light on, all right.
Okay.
And I can talk, okay.
There we go.
I feel like a talk show.
Sing something. Can you sing?
Oh, you don't want that. You don't want that.
Just a little bit. Just a little.
Maybe if we get the goal setting done in 40 minutes, I will sing.
What's your, what's your,
How's about that?
what's
How's
your
about
walkout song? It's a retreat.
I have actually thought of that. I have actually thought of
See,
that.
I was listening.
That was a very fun.
I
I know
was
you were.
paying
That was a
attention.
really. That was a very. It was great working with you guys. Thank you so much for having me back. And I think honestly, between my service at New Jersey School Boards and as an independent, I've been doing this with you guys for 10 years. This is my 10th goal setting session with Hardiston. So it is really nice to be here tonight. And I do have a fancy slideshow. I don't have a mouse, but a lot of this our veterans have seen, but it's, yeah, thank you. Okay. All right. But this is really one of, I enjoyed the search process. I enjoyed working with all of you. And we had a really good outcome, and it took a lot of great discussions to get there. But my favorite annual task, honestly, and one of the reasons why I'm just so happy to be here, is the goal setting session. Like this is, now that you've gotten the hard work done of hiring your superintendent, and this is something that happens every year, unlike hiring the superintendent, this is the most exciting meeting for the board. This is the stuff that you should, it's the reason why you're on the board, because the conversations that we have tonight, and veterans have had these conversations many times, really propels the district forward. That's what a board does. It's kind of interesting because I heard a board, where the heck was I? I don't know where I was. I might have just been listening to a meeting. And one of the board members said, we're a very hands-on board. And I was like, wow, like that is the absolute antithesis of what a board should be. Nice euphemism, right? But that's not what boards of education do. Boards of education work with administration to find out what the needs are and to work together to formulate annual goals that administration should be working on that, like I said, is going to move the district forward. That's going to be good for your kids. It's going to be good for your families. It's going to be good for your staff, right, in your schools. And then you let the administration do its work, right? And it's a lot of work, but it doesn't involve being hands-on at all. So this is the interactive part. This is the meeting where you decide together what those goals are going to be going forward. And then you're kind of, backing up, supporting the administration, keeping informed on how they're doing, but these are the conversations that set that train in motion. And that's really exciting to me. So thank you very much for having me. And we can go to the next slide, which, I know, all right, I am going to use this as a crutch, but they're not very exciting looking slides, so you all get a copy of this. But there are different types of goals. And for our new folks who are coming into this for the first or maybe second time, there are 4 different goals that I want you guys to be aware of that are out there. District goals and board goals are what we're going to talk about tonight. Superintendent goals are goals, for lack of a better word, they're goals that the superintendent sets for herself, for her own professional growth. You may know that they're out there and all of that, but that's not really a board gig.
Merit goals is something that the district used to have, but we are retiring those, so we're not talking about those any longer. We are focused on the ones in blue, district goals and board goals. And there are different bases for these, so you're not starting from ground zero or a blank slate, but district goals are typically based on your strategic plan, when you have continuing leadership based on the CSA evaluation. We don't have a CSA evaluation here, but we did have a very robust interview process. So some of the thoughts from those interview processes and the themes that came up are going to come up in these district goals. And emerging issues, right? There may be things that happen outside of your strategic plan that need to be addressed, and they will often show up in district goals when appropriate. Board goals are very different. Board goals are the goals that the board sets for itself that relates only to the board's work. So, for lack of a better word, I don't mean to sound disrespectful, they're not as exciting as district goals. It's a worthwhile endeavor. They're definitely a best practice, but a lot of boards don't even set board goals year to year. Hardeston we do, and we will probably do that again tonight. And if you don't want to, that's okay. But district goals are an essential, right? And those are the real exciting ones. So we can go to the next slide. Thank you so much, Brian. There is a strategic plan that Hardeston has, and these are the 4 overarching goals that were part of that strategic plan, so I always like to touch base with those. Individual students and accountability, community involvement and outreach, parental involvement and investment, and access and equity. When we were formulating this strategic plan, it was during the days of the pandemic. We were still in, we were still all spreading out, but those days are, getting further and further in the rear view. Your plan's going to be maturing this year, so maybe time to talk about a reset during the year as you move forward. But if we go forward again, I think what really is a great jumping off point for us tonight, and Monica can speak to this, I'm not putting her on the spot, we've talked about this, the district goals that we set in the retreat last year, there were 5 of them, and it was a very, there were some unexpected things that came up this year. I don't think you were expecting to look for a superintendent, but that took a lot of energy naturally. So some of these goals are incomplete, but there was a lot of progress done on them. So Monica, if you don't mind telling the board about that, that'd be great.
Okay, so what I did is I reached out to the administrative team to get feedback from them on what progress was or was not made toward the district goals from the 25-26 school year. And the first goal was surrounding the idea of academic excellence. And it said that Hardeston will increase student achievement in math and language arts. They talked about implementing targeted professional development, using data to drive instructional strategies and practices, and to expand enrichment opportunities. Some of the things that were done toward this goal, and there were 1, 2, 3, 4, there were 5 action items that Dr. Ryder had put together to achieve this goal, is that both the ELA and math interventionists definitely used data and collaborated with classroom teachers to pull in for small group instruction and to pull out for intervention at tiers 3 and 4, excuse me, at tiers 2 and 3. Teachers designed and led workshops at the March in-service so they could share the best practices that they collaborate with each other and share their strategies. There was an activity that was, or an action item that was surrounding expanding enrichment opportunities in STEM. And having career days, things like that, so that definitely happened. STEM field trips. They had a career day here at the middle school. They started a whole club for Chromebook repair that the kids evidently loved, so they got to work on trying to repair Chromebooks, so that was very popular. And there was an action item about providing when or what I need time for intervention or enrichment. When was put into place, that was used for a variety of things, tier 2 and tier 3 interventions, Wilson instruction, ESL, or English as a second language instruction, G&T instruction, to name a few. So those were put into place. There was one action item that that was not done at all, and that was to implement a future student initiative to help 5th through 8th graders see success pathways and future options, and that is not something that was embarked upon this school year. District goal number 2 was surrounding attendance and engagement, and this is probably where the most success was found from last year. Hardested, I think, had a bit of an issue, like a lot of districts across the state and the country post-pandemic, with chronic absenteeism. So it was a lofty goal to get chronic absenteeism below 8.4%, and to make sure that they were using incentives and recognition programs, things like that, to try to bolster consistent attendance, and developing an attendance team to monitor and follow up on student absences. I'm happy to say that for almost every month in the last school year, student attendance hovered in the 95-point-something% range, so well below the 8.4. And I think there were a lot of factors to that. You saw last month at when the students came and presented with Meg, you saw her and them talking about attendance being one of the things that she focused on in the Battle of the Hornets competition, school-wide competition, and the attendance definitely improved, and because they got points. They earned points for their grade level team, so they wanted to work toward that. The attendance teams at both schools worked at looking at specific students who had issues and meeting with those students, meeting with their parents, or calling those parents. That specifically was the guidance counselors, the nurse, the principals, and the secretaries were on those teams to try to address specific student issues. And also, excuse me, they brought in things like the police department to come in and do fun activities with kids as sort of like an incentive when they hit attendance goals. So this one, actually, Jarla and I talked about it, and we retired the school because it seems like things are really in a good spot in terms of attendance right now. You could always go back and add something if you chose to, if you started to see that again. The third goal centered around family and community partnership. That goal looked to strengthen family and community partnerships by offering ways to connect and learn and partner with the district. Some of the things that happened here, an action item was to launch a family wellness workshop series for the pre-K, having one in the fall, the winter, and the spring. This actually did take place, and from what I understand was quite successful, and even was written up and shared in one of the educational journals as sort of a best practice type of thing. It was accepted and published. Escaping me right now what the journal was, but I did read it. It was very nice. We had we had some assemblies and invited parents in, first responders we invited in, trying to create those kind of community partnerships, ongoing collaboration with both the police department and the fire department, and I know that Meg's really excited, and Jen, to try to even go beyond the PD and the fire department and try to find some other community organizations to partner with. But I think there's still some work in that area that we could do. And goal number 4, centered on positive school culture and staff collaboration. Some of the things that happened here is that we did do a climate survey. We were just talking about that. That finished up on June the 30th, so we'll be generating those reports now and forming a school climate survey team to do an analysis and come up with an action plan for that. We surveyed, just as a reminder, parents at both schools, staff at both schools, and students in grades 3 through 8. And there was an opt-out option if parents did not want their children to opt out, and we had one in the whole school that opted out. They also started using morning announcement time and faculty meetings to do faculty shout-outs, for things that were achieved and things that we really wanted to call attention to. They used faculty meetings and in-service workshops to do some team building, back both at the elementary school and at the middle school. And here at the middle school, the staff got pretty heavily involved in the Battle of the Hornets competition. Really took a lead in helping with that this year. And Meg is hoping to help Mrs. Samaglia expand something similar at the elementary school this coming year. And then finally, I believe, if I remember correctly from reading the notes from last year's goal setting, there was a facilities and finance goal added at this meeting for the district, and that concerned trying to figure out pressing and future needs in terms of facility and technology, and also exploring methods of funding for those needs. A priority list of upgrades was generated during the course of this past school year. There was a facilities audit discussed. It was actually, Sue met with someone to talk about doing a facilities audit on Wednesday of this week, right? And so we'll be following up with that. I believe that technology audit still needs to be done. It was not done this past year. Sue and Dr. Ryder definitely explored some alternate funding sources. They identified some shared services, especially in the area of transportation. We basically shared with a couple of different districts to try to cut down some of our special education transportation costs. And there is a possibility of doing a shared service agreement with Jefferson because they are interested in seeing if we would like to have access to their maintenance staff instead of going out to individual vendors when we need a plumber or an electrician or whatever. So hopefully something along those lines can be worked out. And a 3 to 5 year facility plan was not done. That was an action item, but that was not undertaken this year. Anything you want to add, Sue?
We'll have updates with the energy audit in September and October.
Thanks. Yeah, and that was very thorough. Thank you very much. It was really gratifying to hear about all the good work that came out of those goals. So kudos to Mike, wherever you are, and his team for the progress that was made. Understandably, some of those things didn't get accomplished, but thank you very much. I think, that helps me as a conversation facilitator. I don't know if there's any thoughts from the board about last year's goals or any of the things that stood out to you from what Monica was mentioning.
I know it was a transition towards the end, but it's nice and refreshing to hear that goals were still a priority, and it sounds like a couple of them were met. You could articulate, share that there's some areas that we should probably continue in some of these goals. I just feel like there's always reflection on that. Good stuff is happening, but progress can be,
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it exceeded the attendance goal. And I remember having a big conversation about that a couple of years ago. So nice work, because I know some districts are still really struggling with that. So awesome, Hardison. But speaking of what you just said, Nick, perfect segue. We have some draft goals. Well, you've kind of done this before. I think you knew it was coming next. But we do have draft goals. Now, from my understanding, Monica and Jarlin worked on these together, right? Because we're in an interesting spot here. I have not been at a board meeting where there's a superintendent and a superintendent incoming at the dais. So this is a cool first. And Jarlin, honestly, thank you for coming out here. It really is, it is extraordinary to have this kind of commitment to your district as you're coming in. So thank you for that. But you couldn't have, and I know this isn't your only meeting, but this is a great meeting to attend. So we're off to a really good start. But would you ladies like to speak to the draft goals that you have produced for the group's consideration tonight?
Maybe we could tag team on this a little bit, Jarlin. Sure. So we spent we talk every day. We talk on weekends.
We are like sisters.
Yes. That's why we as two superintendents can sit at the same table together. Some people would not be able to do that.
We're very like-minded,
yes.
which has made this process a lot easier. Can I take this?
Yeah. So we spent a lot of time talking, and we took a look at, and we met also with Kathy and with Brian and with Sue, and did a pre-meeting on Tuesday, a virtual meeting, and kind of talked about the goals that were in place last year, and what things still needed to be accomplished in those areas, what things maybe needed to be expanded in those areas, and maybe some things that could be retired, like the attendance goals. So do you want to talk a little bit about our decision to kind of redo how we were presenting the goals?
Yeah, so after reviewing the 25-26 goals, Monica and I really noticed a few things. One of the things that we noticed is that last year's goals had a lot of verbiage included in the goal itself, which is really supposed to be almost like an overarching focus. With those goals that had a lot of verbiage, I think that some of the direction got lost. So we really wanted to make sure that we had a strong statement for our goal, and that we really addressed those intentional, specific things that we wanted to make sure are addressed to the goal in an action plan that is going to be obviously more detailed than this, but we want to have objectives that go with our goals, and then a detailed action plan. Because we thought that the goals had a lot of verbiage. So for example, last year, a term that was in the first goal was professional development, but it wasn't really targeted on because it was part of the big goal, but then it fell through when the action plan was put in place. So we thought that this format will allow us to be a little more focused, more intentional, and those subgroups or those more specific components of the goal itself to be addressed through objectives and the action plan. Does that make sense, what we're saying? So, we've talked about academic excellence. We definitely think that goal needs to stay. We have a lot of work ahead of us. I was really happy to see that some progress was made in the right direction in terms of having teachers come together, maybe in structures that are similar to PLCs, but we definitely need to continue to enhance data-driven instruction. During our meeting with Ryan, I spoke a lot about MTSS, which stands for Multi-Tier System of Supports. And right now, our district doesn't really have a systematic approach for ensuring that we have those tiers in place for students. Something that I noticed during my conversations with Sue, which also impacts MTSS, is that right now, we allocate almost all of our Title I, correct, for resources that should be giving us a lot of really valuable data. So we're spending about $71,000 on instructional tools, and then we have these tools that should be providing us with really high quality data, but then what do we do with the data? So there's not a lot of evidence from what we've seen in terms of teachers and educators having this data somewhere, using the data to group students, using the data to make decisions about students moving through a continuum. So bullet 1 and bullet 2 kind of go together, but we need to work diligently this year so that takes place, because that's the way that we're going to reach our gifted learners from the beginning, right? So our advanced learners shouldn't just be receiving tiered intervention or higher level learning if they're pulled out. They should be getting it every day during math, during ELA, during science. And if we're implementing more data-driven instruction, the teachers, this just becomes a way of life, then maybe during a regular lesson, the teacher knows like, oh, my advanced learners, I have a plan for them based on the assessment that I've been looking at, and I'm gonna modify maybe that narrative that they're gonna read or the text, and I'm gonna give, this group is gonna have a more difficult text. Little things like that is really where we start to service our gifted learners, but it has to tie to like this goal. Another thing that I was surprised is that we do also get Title II and REAP. I know a lot of districts, we use REAP for technology. Sorry, so I'm gonna put you so much on the spot tonight. But I'm talking about so many things that I don't know about, so I would have to keep referencing soon. But we get Title II, correct? But from, just having conversations with Monica, it doesn't seem like we've had a lot of those funds used to really bring in experts. I am a big fan of teachers teaching themselves. I think that's wonderful to maximize the talent in district, but there does come a point where if we have money through grants, let's get some experts in here to really help us with some of the instructional areas that we're a little weaker in, especially if the state, if the federal government's paying for it, like why not? So that was a part of last year's goal, the professional development, but nothing really right out of the ordinary was done in terms of enhancing PD. It was really just teachers meeting to do things together. So I think that that's an area as well.
And just one thing to point out on that particular one is that I've been meeting with the regional, the mini roundtable, Wallkill, Franklin, Augsburg, and Hamburg, and there is strong interest on the part of all of the districts in pooling some of this Title II money and sharing to bring in some of the things that you can't afford as your own.
Yeah, and the reason I'm saying this too is because MTSS, having a solid MTSS takes a lot of hard work, and it's not something that I think that we can just myself and the administrators, get up and running and make it strong. So I think if we use professional development specifically in that area, it's going to be very beneficial to our district. I'm sorry, I'm ignoring the people on this side. So, and this is not just to say that there aren't other things that go into the academic excellence. We just wanted to use this format as a model. Obviously, during these conversations, we could think of other things that we think will also be very strong. We also kept it a little vague because I want to see what the new data is going to say in terms of our ELA and math achievement. And then based on those things, obviously, we'll be more specific in terms of what areas we're going to increase the data-driven instruction, increase the PD. But I am kind of unsure what the testing data is going to look like with this adaptive test, because I'm not sure how adaptive test measures against the standard. But looking at the previous year, 24-25, we had some significant areas of growth, specifically in math. So that could also be something that then becomes part of the action plan. Another thing is that I believe the action plan is a live document. So even though that's kind of why we made the goal a little bit vague, because the action plan should be a live document. So as we're getting data, if we need to add things to this action plan, we should add to make sure that we're just, evolving in our progress.
Speaking of action plans, I've got this little template thing, so that we can talk about when you're ready. I think we should kind of do these one goal at a time.
Okay.
That's what the board has typically done, and it's worked pretty well.
Any questions on this, on anything I said?
Yeah, that's the next part. It's like,
I
what
feel
do
like
you
I
guys think
spoke a lot about
the draft goal. So what I am passing out now is, Jorland's process may look a little bit different, right? This is just a really bare bones,
A pretty basic template that shows what an action plan looks like. When you hear the words action plan. So the board doesn't have a say in what the action plan, how it should read, right? The board approves the goal, and then administration figures out the how to do the goal, right? And that's what the action plan is. But it's not that the board is not aware of what the action plan. You do need to know what's going on. How is the goal being achieved? If you don't know that, first of all, you're at a real disadvantage as a board member who's governing the school district, right? But you need to know how to allocate resources, right? And if you don't know that there's an action plan or how it's being worked through, for example, you're not going to know where those resources are needed. You're not going to know if any changes need to be made in the action plan, because that does happen mid-year sometimes. It's really, like you said, it's like a living document. But there needs to be some way for the board to know how things are going and what to expect. So a template like this is kind of helpful. And this is a blank one. Generally, when I see these in use, the goal statement is written on them. And then for each of these major activities, so let's say these bullet points here, they would be refined a little bit, and you would have, 1, 2, 3, however it is, all of the different tactics that administration is using at the time to promote the goal, right, to get to achievement of the goal. So a target completion date for some of those or all of those objectives is good for the board to know. Again, this is about resource allocation. what human resources are being utilized, what's being deployed to meet the objective, what actual resources are being utilized or are required, and also how do we know that it's working? So I've got to tell you that indicators of success, that's a really important column. That is where, candidly, and I'm not talking about this board, but I do see boards mess up on that. They may know what the objectives are and they know what the goal is, but they don't know how if it's been achieved or not. And that's where that indicators of success column can be really helpful for board members, especially those of us who are lay people, right? Who don't necessarily live in the jargon or the day-to-day, operations of a school district in our professional lives. Knowing how you're going to know that that goal is successful or it needs to be tweaked is what goes in that column. So I don't want anyone to, and that's, again, this is not this board, but for the record, I don't want people to be shy about saying, what does that mean, right? I don't understand that. How do we know that objective 1 has been accomplished? So that should be in that indicator of success column. And one of the really important things about the conversations that we have tonight, and goal setting in particular, is that it's all about, big word that I heard a lot here, accountability, right? It's about accountability. So the things that we talk about tonight and everything that flows from that is going to be a part of the CSA evaluation next year. That's what you're going to base it on. But how do you know if these goals have been achieved? That's where that indicators of success is really helpful. So that come March, when you're trying to do the CSA evaluation, you're not calling Jarlin or Sue or, or Brian and just trying to find your way around. Then you will, this is a fluid living document. This stays with you. You know how things are going. So that when it comes time to evaluate the superintendent and close out the school year, you'll have, you'll be fluent in it. It'll be easy. All right, so thank you for that little side note. But what I really do want to hear is and thank you also for that robust explanation of the draft goal. I think it made a lot of sense to everybody because there's a lot of nodding going on as you were speaking. But board, what are we thinking about the goal as written?
So I have a couple of questions, or actually two main ones.
Sure.
Is this going to be, how are we using this? Are we using it? Is it going to be a living document that's kind of updated continuously throughout the year so that we can look at it come March? Or no, this is just a suggestion? How are we using this document?
Yeah, that's a good question. Jarlin, have you, you have practices from your former district, so
we did I've done it a little differently, but I'm willing to, let's talk about it, right? I want the board to feel comfortable. I want to be transparent. This could be something that we discuss quarterly, whatever time.
I think I agree with that. If you did quarterly, because that, I know we're only doing one goal at a time, but it goes with the second goal too, with outreach and community engagement. If we're speaking about what our goals are continuously, then it becomes part of that message. I think with if you make something, whatever format you're going to use, and I think it worked really well in the past. I understand these are bulleted items, but then if the activity itself has something measurable, so instead of just data-driven instruction, it's, it has something, because that gets to the point, how do you measure data-driven instruction? But then for the accomplishments, there was always an opportunity for you to put hyperlinks of things that you did. So throughout the year, the board was able to, or when you present it quarterly, it's on your computer in the drive and you're clicking on it, and as you presented it publicly, people were able to see the progress was made. So that kind of helped deter the blinds. I don't know what the goal was in June when we were doing the evaluations and speaking, because people were able to ask questions in November or January, in April.
Makes sense.
Prior
So
to.
we would get surprises, and we would love to see it quarterly.
Yeah, absolutely. And do not worry, because with the CSA evaluation, you guys are in 2 weeks. Just to review all my data, because I start from September.
like something to worry about actually, but in a good way.
Yeah, my board would and Frida has my board would like, oh, you can give us less, because I start from the first day. Instead of waiting until March, I have Google folders, and because my work is focused on the goal upload into my folder, upload into my folder, and then by the end of the year, you have dozens of artifacts and links and
Great. One thing.
Have you talked to candidates who are first-time supers when they're hired? I may just say, hey, there's someone I want you to talk to. Thank you for that. Yeah.
So really, my board has asked me to like give them this. But it also keeps me, I keep myself accountable that way. And it's a good reference for myself. Oh, I kind of want to see like how things are going with this school or this area. So right now, this is a little vague. I kind of wanted us to talk about the objectives together. That's why we didn't include them, because I don't want you to be apprehensive about like this goal is very vague. It doesn't include the focus areas there. But one of the reasons we reduced the language is because we felt that word-heavy goal was very hard to measure. So now with objectives, we're like making things more focused and a little more measurable. So we're kind of like breaking up the goal, so it's not just one goal with all these words in it, that at the end, Monica was like, well, I don't even know really how to measure it because it was just a lot of wording into one overall big focus area.
I think I didn't see what the other ones are too, so I might be covered in there. Like, sorry, you said you had a second question.
I did,
Sorry.
yeah.
Before
I would have remembered it, but hopefully. And I'm all for a good list of action items, so I think that's a good way to present it, and I appreciate that and like it. My second question was going to be just to kind of revisit the MTSS and everything, and I understand the multi-tiered systems of support and everything, but to the extent that, we want to say something like, okay, we think we need to make improvements in our special education department, for example, or how we're delivering services to classified children, or complying with IEPs or something like that. Is that all falling under the MTSS and just a tier of that, or is that something that we need to kind of flush out in here?
Yes, so one of the things that we were, the continuum of supports, it includes special ed.
So moving them along the...
Exactly, so the continuum of support, but what we want to, and I know you guys remember during the interview process, I talked a lot about prevention and starting from the beginning. The reason we're going back to MTSS and the continuum is because we want to make sure that from the gen ed teachers, we're doing things so that our kids don't end up being referred if they don't have to be. It's a way of being preventive. But yeah, the continuum also means that we're going to enhance kids over here that are just at risk, but then the kids that have already been identified are part of the continuum. So that's what that term, we did that term on purpose.
We did.
Because it's a very convenient term because it means everybody. So the continuum starts with gen ed, good practice. That's the beginning of the continuum. And then the end of the continuum is our children with IEPs. And MTSS is like, once the children are at risk, then they're part of the MTSS. But if we have a really good MTSS system, what we've seen through data is that referrals go down when you have a really strong MTSS system. But yes, it does include special ed. But we can, in the objectives, we can include language, or in the activities, language that are specific to special ed.
Yeah, and because I'm looking at something like expanded enrichment opportunities, like how are we measuring that? Things like that, which I guess comes down to kind of breaking it down further into indicators of success, things like that. But
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of not so much a question, but just me thinking through how this is actually going to play out.
Yeah.
I think if it's laid down into what the continuum is, like what practices are you doing to improve, like, because I understand, like, the spectrum or the continuum, it's a part of this, because like in the goal, looking back to that, it says all learners, right? So like, if there's an action plan or an activity in there that addresses, I think this is where gifted and talented could be an actionable item of, like, robustly redefining what our gifted and talented program is here. Could be an actionable step that we now spend time doing, and that's part of that continuum. So like, we're talking about all learners, so we have those, and we have the other, the other end of the spectrum, student. We have, as we all know, different population and different programs here for students in this district, like ERI, MD, things like that. What is, because that's my big, what does student achievement look like for all learners? For a student who is gifted and talented, it looks like this. For a student who is in a multiple disabled classroom, it does not look like that. So if there's like some action plans and activities that address all learners, I'd appreciate that. I think that would be, that keeps us focused in mindset that the population here is encompassing of all students.
Yeah. And I think, focusing a lot on the continuum, and then like I said, we could be specific. There's also the advanced learner that's not necessarily gifted.
Right.
So, people use gifted and advanced interchangeably, but really 1 to 5% of the student population should be gifted. It's usually a very, very small amount. but we have students that are not gifted and they could just be advanced. And then,
I-
sometimes those kids
great
fall through
point.
the cracks,
I
you
just
know?
think like all this
Yes.
is like great communication out,
Great
not just
point.
with us as the board, but like for the community.
Mhm.
Of like, it's an opportunity for our families and our community to understand just
Mhm.
how education looks
Yeah.
now. Cause
Yeah.
I get, some of us are in education or understand it or have children here. Some of the community don't and understand that like
Yeah.
it's different than when I was in elementary school in the nineties. It's a lot, it's like, I think that's a big thing to share, and I think that would be a positive.
Yeah.
And also showcasing the amazing, like, there's no teachers here, but the hard work that they're doing collectively with admin to
Yeah.
showcase why this is a good district. Great
Absolutely.
And can I just make 2 points? I want to just say this about the data-driven decision-making and instruction and the supports. There definitely there are interventions happening now.
Mhm.
Teachers are using data. I think what Jarlin and I have been talking about is the fact that we have a lot of data at our hands. We need to, one action item could be done by October, and it could say, do an inventory of all your data sources and figure out how you're warehousing your data. And that one could be completed in no time, because you gotta start by knowing where you're starting, right?
Right.
And then, as far as the teachers are concerned, I think it's just, they're doing so much already, it's just finding ways to help them do it better and in a more organized manner.
Absolutely. So like like Monica was saying, very simple things. So for example, in my current district, like one thing that I had teachers do, which at first they were like, oh, it looks a little redundant, but they understood, is that, for example, our universal screener is iReady. I think here we use Renaissance, and we use IXL, which is very similar. So, they have the data, and then, they see the data, and the data kind of groups the students for you. You get like a mapping, a color-coded mapping. But I created a spreadsheet, and I had the teachers take that same data and put it on a simple spreadsheet, and just put the kids into 3 categories. And just that simple thing of taking the time to really look at the data and move the data kind of forced them to analyze their data, because they had to look at it, had to plug it out and put it into another thing. That alone was astronomical for us, because I would stop a teacher, I would go into a teacher and be like, who's in like your lower group? And they could identify it because of that very simple activity. So sometimes even simple things like that help just make sure that people are looking at the data and doing something with the data. And then when they had to group their students, whether it was homogeneously or heterogeneously, because they had that experience with the data, putting it into a spreadsheet and color coding it and putting notes into it, like they knew, oh yeah, I'm gonna do, I have to work with this group that's struggling in this area. They knew who the kids were. If I want to kind of, have this student be a model for this one, I'm going to do it a little different. They knew because they had it. So sometimes simple activities like that, but that could all be part of our action plan, like Monica said. So,
I would like to make a comment, I'm sorry, I just want to jump in. So I guess we got rid of the merit goals, and some of the merit goals actually included the measurable amounts of improvement, 5% improvement in different levels of students for EL classes, and 5% for math scores to demonstrate for moving from levels, for different grades. So I would like to see that type of information somewhere. So it's actually measurable. Maybe 5 is too much for the first year, but to have, I think it's part of our success, because we did have those measurable goals and we were actually able to work towards them. So what do you think about that?
yeah, I think in terms of items in the objectives, we can have goals are a little more smart. The difficulty for me right now is that I don't have a lot of starting data.
So could we use, to that point, because I like you added the word intentional, so it's like there's purposeful, intentional strategies, and part of that is we already have, so I'm not talking about state data. Like intentional data would be like we're using Renaissance, we're using this, and then now we have that data here, where now you're making the teachers use the data. So then now we're actually targeting data-driven instruction. So we have at the beginning of the year, this kind of addresses, and I agree with you, Donna, at the beginning of the year, we have in 3 through 8 identified, and I know I read it too, but I'm on Renaissance, but it says, whatever it is, 35% of kids are not meeting expectations or meet partially. Do we see growth at the end of the year, at the end of the year benchmark? So that would demonstrate, so we're using internal metrics, and we're not relying on, like, because I get it, we're not even gonna see that data probably until like November, December if we're lucky. So like, but if you could at least start with that now when you come in, of like, we have this data here already, that the students should have taken the end of the year benchmark, or they'll take one at the beginning of the year, and that, we just understand when we approve it, that activity or that action item won't have maybe data when we approve it, you know what I mean? But that goes to the point where you're saying it's a living document. It gets added in April, and then we're like, okay, we saw a 5% improvement from, you know, an ELA, and then another goal for math.
Absolutely, and Monica and I did ask the principals for end of year data. There was just a little bit of a technical glitch, and her and I aren't on the software. So we couldn't, but we did ask for that data because we wanted to be able to speak to it, to perhaps be able to give more precise direction in terms of especially ELA and math, but we don't have the data.
I would be curious to that point of the different platforms that we talked about the other day, and if we're using multiple forms of internal data collection, which ones you guys see as most reliable and accurate. You know, the wild card in all this is that we're asking students to do things that most of them don't like to do. Their tri-level may vary based on grade level and just their internal desire to try on some of these things. But I've always thought it's key that if parents and students see that data turned around into something useful, it elevates the likelihood that the students do try on it. And when you were mentioning like all those platforms that we're using, are the results on some in line with what we're seeing in local grade and on SLA scores, so that there is a degree of consistency that we can look at? And teaching practice, right? So like when you look at like the horizontal lineage of all these things, where do we see alignment? Does Renaissance align more? Does IXL align more? And then we'll take the SLA scores, which we usually get reports on, like Jarlin was saying with the adaptability. By now we would typically have SLA scores from the spring, late June or early July. There's no time frame even given by the state yet of when the scores are going to be released, and that's going back to the juniors in high school take the GPA in March. We still have no time frame or cut score on that yet. So what we're used to seeing for external testing data, we have no idea when it's coming in, and nor do we know, to your point, is the score last year of a 770 going to mean the same this year when the whole test, after 4 or 5 questions we were told, was going to change. If you got 4 or 5 right, you're going to get the harder bank of questions, so they claim. If you get 4 or 5 wrong, you're going to get the easier bank of questions, and then your ceiling score was supposed to drop. Like, it's really all in theory because nobody's seen any results. So,
Was it a new test this year?
New testing platform. Yeah.
And just to piggyback on what you're saying, that's really important is that something that I think I told Sue or Monica, I don't remember. We have a lot of conversations all the time. Is that another thing that we should look in terms of data is that I want to see usage data. Because I'm sure that these tools, we're not just using them as diagnostic tools, because I see that we pay a lot for a lot of them. We're probably using them as instructional tools. And it's important to see, if we are using it as an instructional tool, which teachers are assigning them more. So for example, iReady is a diagnostic, and I think IXL is the same. It's a diagnostic tool, meaning that it gives assessments, but it's also an instructional tool, so teachers can assign specific things to students based on their needs. So like data that I'm interested in seeing is like, how much is there a correlation in terms of usage and good student outcomes, right? And which teachers are using it? Are the teachers that are using it more getting better outcomes? So all that stuff is data that we can use for this too.
So that could be an actual step. Like that's great. Like, you know what I mean? If you're going to do that kind of like a data analysis of the actual usage of these programs that we have, then that's measurable too. Like, that you presented the report. So that like, I think that goes with the whole purpose of intention. Like, why are we paying for these programs if they're not being used with fidelity?
We started that process during the budget time. I worked with Mrs. Maglia as the director of curriculum instruction, and she pulled usage reports, and we actually got rid of some things that were just not being used.
Yeah,
so that information has already started to be done, and she's your go-to person to be able to.
Great. That's important to know. It's also, I think I lost my train of thought. Something good too. It was really good. It had to do with the data as well. Oh, teacher practice. So another thing that's really interesting to see is, for example, I like to look at our observational practices. So for example, if we're observing teachers and teachers are being rated highly effective, the if students go on these assessments and they're not proficient in a lot of the standards, then there's a disconnect in terms of teacher practice and student outcomes. That's also a really important way to look at the data, is that highly effective teachers should have highly effective results. If I'm saying you're highly effective, but your students aren't meeting any of the major concepts of the grade, then there's a disconnect, and maybe we need to normalize the way we observe teachers, maybe that teacher needs support. So that's also important data to look in terms of the direction that we're going to move in if we want to increase that. So we have a lot of data, is what I'm saying. A lot of unknown data for me, which is also to our advantage. That's why we kind of also wanted to start a little vague and then get, give us the grace of like then us becoming, as we get more knowledge, a little more specific.
I do have a quick question. Maybe I'm like totally off here, but I just want to throw it out there. I don't know if this is more like a goal or just, I don't know. I just wanted to know if there's any way, like the students that are in the IEP rooms, I noticed that they're in there for multiple subjects, and it could get like very confusing. Like you'll have somebody in there for English, somebody in there for math, somebody in there for social studies. They're all doing separate work at the same time. So they basically are just given the Chromebook, and if they have a question, they raise their hand, the teacher comes over and helps them. So I feel like they're not really being taught anything, because the teacher is doing like multiple subjects at once. So is there any way that we could do like an IEP room for each individual, or there's no way to do that in the scheduling, or like why are they all in there for like multiple subjects?
So what you're describing is an LOD classroom.
Okay.
So that would be where you have multiple subjects in the same classroom. Otherwise, there would be, if it was a resource room, there would be a separate resource room for math, a separate one for language arts, for instance. But you're describing an LLD, which by its design is a self-contained classroom. But the way it really looks is that a teacher will be instructing, usually individually or a small group, that need a certain skill taught or whatever, then releasing them to practice it while she or he goes and works with another group. So it's not like they're all working independently and then just ask a question. It's targeted instruction, release to go practice it, go target instruction with other students. So that's what the model looks like, instead of it just sort of being everybody in there together and working on their own.
All right, so it has to be multiple subjects all at once in that room. That's what you're saying? It couldn't be just like...
So there's different levels of special education. You should be given this talk right here. There's different levels of special education you could have in class support, which would be they don't need as much support as other students might need. So you would have a teacher or an aide in there supporting them. You would have out of class, class resource actually. We have a special ed teacher in the room specifically, co-teaching with the regular teacher. You could have out of class resource, where is what you typically think of as a resource room, where the kids are pulled in for a specific subject.
Yeah.
And then the children who need the most support would be in an LLD class, where all of it, because they need the support in all of the major subjects.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got it.
Did I say anything wrong there?
You said it perfect.
Okay.
And usually the children in LLD, they need that explicit small group instruction.
Yeah.
Usually, there are students that go directly to that type of setting, but many times those students have tried those other settings and have not been successful, and then they end up in the self-contained LLD, which is more restrictive than the other ones. So yeah, that's why that model, those students need to be taught in a very small, targeted instruction, and then, with all the subject areas like that taught in very, very explicit small groups.
Any comments on this one?
Any other comments, questions on this one?
All right.
Great.
I think we've got our first goal, right? And you keep saying vague, but I would use the word broad. I don't think it's vague. I really don't. I think it's like an arrow pointing in a specific direction, and as you go forward in your leadership, learn what the conditions are on the ground, the language will get more targeted. But I don't think it's vague right now. I really don't. So thank you for that. Goal 2, let's talk about that one.
Okay, so goal 2, we kept family and community partnership as the broad name of it, and we just said that we want to do things under this one to connect families, to strengthen partnerships with families and with the surrounding community. So we talked about an action plan that would include activities that would increase family and community participation in school and district events, not to provide for opportunities, because opportunities are already existing, but we want to increase those opportunities. We want to get out there and see, how we can get family and community in our schools seeing what things are going on. The second bullet there, we want to make sure that we are publicly recognizing both student and staff achievement. And this is something that Jarlin has been talking about since she really, has come on board. She wants to start publicizing this. She wants to
Rebrand.
redo the website, or make sure we're using social media, or using our weekend blasts even more. Whatever way it is to publicly recognize both students and staff. We think that will strengthen the partnerships with families in the community, and we want to have ongoing promotion of the district and school events and initiatives. So just basically educating the public and the families about what there is here and how they can become involved.
Yeah, I have to say that I've been in district 3 full days.
I think so.
And I've seen so many wonderful things. I know that there have been difficult board meetings, there's been conflict, but I was so impressed just by the confidence I saw in kids. I spent some time here in the cafeteria, and the children were engaging with me in conversation, asking me like mature questions. How are you feeling? I was so impressed. I was very impressed by the battle of the Hornets. I was like, wow, things like that have to be celebrated. And even at the elementary school, I saw the little garden. I saw preschoolers showing so much independence. There's so many great things. My goal is that even little things that we're doing day to day that to us might seem, ordinary for the community, it's extraordinary. For example, in my current district, sometimes I would go into a classroom and kids were working in groups doing math on the floor. I take a picture, I post. Today in 2nd grade, we are regrouping, something like that. And it really does impact the community. It builds a sense of pride. And sometimes when those negative things come, people think about but my schools are, I'm upset about this, but my school's a really good place. So I really do think that we need to do more of that. I know that we have the weekly,
The weekend blast.
yeah, the s'mores. And I'm like, but where are the pictures? Is that pictures out there? Or, I think, the website is a big thing. I think I've mentioned the website like 5 or 6 times. I already told Sue, please, find out how much we're paying for the website, get me the quotes.
Is the website an actual item?
Oh my goodness, and yeah, you know what the website's gonna be?
That's measurable.
Yeah. The website's gonna be an action item under one of these, because I don't think it does service such a beautiful district. This facility is beautiful, the things that we do here, just from the few days that I've been here, I saw so many great things. Even in some of the special ed classrooms, I saw the kids just doing amazing things, and I think we need to highlight that.
If you could do that at public meetings as well.
Absolutely.
I know, and Monica, you did it when you brought Megan to do the operating ordinance. We've been collectively as a board saying that should be almost like a monthly thing. Especially if you're doing new things or showcasing, because there's it's not just celebrating students, it's celebrating the programs that we're doing, and for the point, educating the community. Because I think that is important. And I think in the last 3 years, I think we had a special education presentation, and then we had the Battle of the Hornets.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been really that much communication out about the things that are happening here.
Yeah.
And I think now that they're being recorded, that's something that you don't have to share at the full board meeting, because that piece at the beginning of the meeting where they're presenting and sharing it out with the families, it becomes, hey, this was what was done at the last board meeting. We can do that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And I would say, to piggyback on that, I'm pretty involved with the school in wearing different hats and as a parent and everything. I don't have any kids in the middle school, but I do have one coming into middle school. And I've heard about the Battle of the Hornets for 2 years, and have even, through the PTA, whatever, been involved a little bit. I still didn't understand how it worked until that presentation. And it was oh, that's what they're all talking about. That's how the points are calculated. But I think something like that, you hear the kids talking about it, we hear the teachers talking about it, we hear references to it all the time. Nobody, I don't know, maybe others with kids in the middle school knew more than I did. But having that sort of explanation and communication, and even, at different levels, I think as a parent, I would appreciate, I think more communication is better just in terms of understanding what our kids are doing every day. I know they do the assessments, but I don't work in a school. I don't have an education background. what does that look like? What kind of rubric evaluates or decides if a child is tier 1 or tier 2 or tier 3 or being referred or all these different things? I think most parents don't understand that, and I think would really benefit from more communication, or even, I don't want to say the word transparency, because I think it's just how we're communicating information. But I feel like more communication would be really helpful in strengthening that parent-school relationship, so that parents kind of have a better understanding of where this information is coming from. When you get an email saying tier 1 intervention, well, what does that mean? What's the rubric? How was it decided? What test decided it? Most parents don't know that or have never even seen those assessments. And I think to a lot of teachers and people who work in schools, it's second nature because you see it all the time. But for those of us not operating in the school, I've never seen what those results look like. So I think some of that communication, I think we would really benefit from it, and I'd like to see that kind of be improved upon in the future to the extent we can.
Yeah, I'm gonna take you guys back to like a memory lane. I mean, in the past, the parents were allowed to come into schools more openly. I guess at some point that basically completely changed, and I feel like the schools are closed off from like parents' participation inside of the buildings. And last year we talked about maybe doing something like a school for parents, like what to expect, what's going to happen, with your third grader, what materials you should, like kind of like a parents' academy to invite parents that are involved and helping them navigate through the school year. I think that would also like help the connection between school and what your child is doing, what to expect. I think, like I said in the past, we were very involved, and we used to be able to take our children to the classrooms and give them a kiss goodbye and then walk out. And I know all those things have changed, and it's, but from that aspect, a little conversation with the teacher, Chris is not feeling well today because of this and that, and she would understand exactly what to expect with my child, So I think that is like gone. We don't do anything like that anymore, but that kept that connection really tight with, with the teachers and the parents and the children,
So I think two things that are really good that you're going to have good success with, Charlene, is that the PTA seems really, really interested in getting involved in helping and facilitating things. So it's a really energetic PTA. Some school districts is not, the PTA doesn't do a lot, and they've already reached out and asked for dates for this coming year, and we're having a planning meeting in August, and so I think that's going to be a great resource for you. And also, I had a meeting a week or so ago with actually Meg about the CPAC, and they, she and another couple parents are kind of heading it up, and I think they want to strengthen it. And CPAC is a special education parent advisory group, and but it's not just for special ed parents. So they're planning in October, in mid-October, a navigating the year, I forget the name of it. Basically, what's a 504? What's an IEP? What is intervention? So they plan on leading it, and they just met with me, and I have the notes to give to you and to Melissa, how we can partner with them to get that information out there. So those two groups, I think, are going to be really good at helping start that communication about some of the things you're talking about, Donna. And I will tell you, though, at some of the elementary classrooms, a lot of that where you would bring the kid in and say, my kid's not feeling well, they've just switched a different way of doing it, where now they use things like Classroom Dojo or something, where they can just send it's almost like an online text platform.
Okay.
And they can send a little quick thing, she didn't sleep well last night, just keep an eye on her kind of thing. So it's an easy communication where you're not sharing cell phones, but you have a way to.
Okay.
So
I think it's important to I get what you're saying as having children. How's your day? Good. So you have to
What did you do today? Nothing.
nothing. So if you can make the classroom, I guess, more accessible to parents in the way that we can. And I think that's more when I think of communication, it's you're communicating with us, you're communicating with the district, but it's also our teachers and our specialists here, how they're communicating with families as well. And that there hasn't been consistency, but I've seen really good communication, weekly updates, lots of very good communication And I guess I'll say like, you know, just the, like, so, not so much of just like, you know, communicating when it's almost like when you need to instead of like, you know, as a, either a reaction instead of like proactively. And I think if it's a focus of that as well. I think what I just wanted to add a different thing of like for the community partnerships too, if there's a way to like expand not just like the other aspects of the community too, like, you know, council, like Walkill Valley board, like the ways that if we're able to communicate, whether that's liaisons from us, like community members, like board members to go be there, be a representative with administration to do that, to kind of like work together on things. I think that would be a good way to entice like community partnerships as well.
And I think to that point, some of the organizations we have around here do a lot that I think we probably could partner with even more. I know, like, I think it's Center for Prevention, I forget if it's them, or what's the Walker Valley Coalition? I get them mixed up.
Yeah, there's Walker Valley Coalition,
The Center for Prevention.
NJ4S, like there's different, like I think that goes with this community partnerships too.
But I know some of them will do presentations for schools, either for like the middle school students or for the parents. Like one of them, I was talking to somebody at one of the, I think it was Center for Prevention, who was telling me about like whole presentations they do for parents, where they set up like almost like a fake setting, like a stage or something, and kind of show parents like different things to look for, like keep an eye out for things like this in your kid's bedroom, or you know, different things like that. So I feel like some of those organizations have a lot that they would be willing to offer schools, or that they can. So that might be another resource we can look into too.
Did you know they're housed here? The coalition has an office here.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying I get them mixed up, and I know we do a lot of work with the coalition. I don't know if, I don't know which offers which.
The coalition, I think, is affiliated with Project Self-Sufficiency.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I was going to say Project Self-Sufficiency too, but I know I'm getting them a little bit mixed up. I can't keep all their programs straight.
If there's any way we could just make the schools maybe like a little bit more welcoming to the parents too, like if they have something that's very important that they're dropping off, like I understand not anybody can go into school that's locked and all that, but if you have like for example, I had to drop money off in my daughter's class trip. I have $100 cash in an envelope, and I rang the bell in the middle school, and it's like they were like, oh, just leave it in the hallway on the table. And like then I had to worry about like this money sitting there, $100 cash. I'm like, you really just can't let me in, go in the office and like hand it to you personally? Like, you know, I'm a parent here, right? 3 kids go through the school, like it's just a little bit too much. Like they should be able to at least come in and give something to the office or something important for the nurse or something, go and hand it to the nurse. Nobody's walking around the school, but just like going there and out the door. Just this like very like locked down. Like it's almost like your kid's like in this dungeon and you can't even get in there like at all.
Yeah, it's really,
like a bit much.
It's really unfortunate, but it really goes hand in hand with, like, I know that when I go to these safety trainings, like they put the fear of us, and I think it's just, like we try to follow recommendations from like state police, from like the school, the state, all the safety trainings. Like I was the school safety specialist in Frelinghuysen, and when you go to these trainings and you see some of the things that happen in schools, and then we have to come back and tell our staff, like, you know, we need to use the foyer, like no one comes in, because a lot of the things that have happened in school, like very tragic things that happen in school, is usually with someone that's associated with the school, like an ex-parent, a former teacher, a family member of a student, things like people that have emotions tied to the school. So it's so unfortunate, really, but it's just the climate that we're living in. It's sad, like when we have to do lockdowns and things like that, like we see, or sometimes like the younger students are scared. It's really horrible, but it's just the climate that we live in this country, which is very sad. Which is why we're hoping that through these other endeavors, like we want the parents to feel like we care about what you think about the school. We want you to be part, because I know that in some other areas we're very limited in how we can have the parents come in. I know like in the 90s, like the moms would walk into the halls, you know, they like lived at the school, they came, they had lunch in the cafeteria, you know, so, but all of that, you know, we've really been discouraged from having that type of, just because of safety, and all it'll take is like one incident, God forbid, you know.
Maybe to address some of that too, there are programs which I've seen where like it's a parent, they're volunteers, but it's a program that come in. I think Newton does something called Dogs, Dads of Great Students, where they come in and like but it's an organized program
events,
with the community, but like you can't just walk in and walk to your child's classroom anytime, but but they do those things that builds partnership, that builds community, and it gets that population of parents in. It gets to the point, like, and celebrates that, so, like, you know, like.
So maybe an objective could be an increase opportunities for parents, you know, to be in schools through, you know,
Something,
through
like-
meaningful events, you know, like.
I think that would be
Like those little things
beneficial.
that we do throughout the school, you know, donate to dad,
Yeah,
mom,
exactly.
a gardening day with grandma, like, you know, little things like that, so the parents come in, but like,
What
make the
about a
same.
lunch day?
in a way.
Lunch?
Huh?
Could you come for lunch?
If it's an organized, like,
That'd be
something,
fun.
something
That would
purposeful,
be cool.
you know?
Like, just go
Yeah.
down to organize,
Yeah.
volunteer.
Yeah, like one day when I was a principal in Bergen County years ago, I did like a grandparents' day, and it was like the sweetest thing.
That's
The
nice.
grandmas and grandpas came in, and they had like a snack
That
with the
would
kid. It
That
was,
would
yeah.
be a huge hit.
Yeah, for grandparents' day,
Grandparents'
we
day.
had the grandmas and grandmas. came
Elementary
in.
school grandparents'
Oh
day,
my
don't forget
goodness,
about
it
it,
was
like-
it was the greatest thing. So maybe that could be an objective, is to increase opportunities for families.
Yeah, or like a Mother's Day tea or
Yeah,
Father's
we
Day
do Mother's
lunch
Day
or
tea
something.
for the
Yeah.
guys, and we do Mother's Day tea.
Yeah,
Second
cute.
grade, it's a hit every year. So that could be an objective of increase opportunities. Okay.
So it looks like the wording on goal number 2 is good, right? Okay. Ed, you're not going to get your song. Sorry about that.
Maybe at the end of
I think that's why the conversation's going on extra long tonight, because no one wants to hear me sing. But it's all good stuff. It's good conversation. Number 3, who wants to talk about, this is a big area, is school climate and culture.
We changed the name of this one, to start with. Before it was positive school culture and professional collaboration or something, and it just didn't go together. Those two things didn't go together. And it didn't talk about climate, but we're doing a climate survey. And there's a difference between climate and culture. So we added both, climate and culture here, and we took out the collaboration piece and put it somewhere else. And we said that we want to make sure that we're improving climate and culture to benefit all students and staff, because that goal last year was written only about staff. But if you have a positive culture and climate, kids are going to benefit. That's going to make you a good thing. So we added the students part to it. We want to make sure that one of the things we do to help our teachers feel supported is promoting wellness for them and professional growth for them. And Sue, I think you said that we are going to be getting some money through SAFE, or insurance
Oh,
fund,
yes,
to
wellness.
provide some wellness opportunities for staff.
Wellness grant, yes.
So that's going to be something that's going to be an easy action item to write. We want to make sure that we are doing things that Charlie will write out, that are increasing morale and are reflective of regular input from students and staff. The survey, the climate survey policy you guys put into place talks about having a yearly climate survey, but that won't be the only way that you can figure out how things are going. So maybe one of the things that Jarlin will talk about is, other ways that we can solicit input from students and staff. And because people want to hear, they want to be heard, right? I think that goes a long way in improving climate and culture. And then making sure that we have ongoing recognition of students and staff. That's going to create that positivity that is going to keep things moving forward.
I appreciate that, the word ongoing, because we did that, and this year I think we did, I think it was one time, that we celebrated students of the marking period instead of like students of the month, and it turned into one, it should have been just students of the year. And I understand it was like 1 till week 7, I appreciate that is always a highlight. And then you do that and combine that with, hey, we're gonna teach you this first, parents, while you have 15 parents already here.
Yeah, because the benefit of that, and I think we all asked about that last year, or this year, but we love Student of the Month. Like, we love it because it's the best part of the board meetings, but it comes after the superintendent's report and all the committee reports, so we give 40 or 50 people from the community direct access to what's going on.
Yeah.
So that is something that I think we all missed. Regarding that too, I think the model, and I give you a lot of credit, Meg, the model we had last month, where we were informed about a district initiative through the principal, but mostly from students, was perfect. Because we heard from everybody, and it gave those kids a great opportunity to speak publicly in front of a board, in front of all their parents, and educate us at the same time. It was like the ideal model. So as we've looked at this in curriculum committee over the years, all these different professional development things, especially the unique ones. I would love to hear the staff members come back and explain what they learned or what they did in the class, and then have a student with them, with the teacher, to explain how it was as a student to receive it, because it is a big captive audience to hear it, and
Like when
that was perfect last month.
when Mrs. Roman got.
And Mrs. Roman too.
She got recognized and into this program, but then she got able to stand up and tell us about the program. And because it's like, not just on the agenda, hey, we're recognizing you, they got in, which is a feat itself, but then also now the entire community heard.
Yep.
One of our teachers got into this like highly recognizable, like, 3-year institute, like going to,
State, yeah.
That's great.
I think things like that it goes with, they all go in hand in your goal 1 and goal 2 of like celebrating, showcasing. Because again, like some of us have kids in here, we know it, but like, and then now the people are watching and they're like, what are my tax dollars going for? Oh, they're going for a lot. Like, look at all this stuff, not just budget season, like throughout the entire year. Look at all these things that are happening for that population who we know it, we always hear it, there's that, how do we communicate with those families or those people who live in town that don't like have kids here anymore. You know what I mean? Like their kids already went through, they're not part of the community, they're not directly part of the school community anymore. So any way we can do that, through that recognition, celebrating success is
I
ideal.
think you can add, I think we talked about it, somebody getting in touch with the advertiser every time something like
Yeah.
this happens, so that it can be in the weekly.
That's
you know.
true too.
And we'll have a new sign. So we can scroll, you can diversify
Oh, right.
communication through the sign, that it's not just static plastic letters, that will be able to scroll,
Right, put a kid's name on it.
yeah, in front of the elementary
I'm
school.
not gonna stand in front of
Nice.
What?
I will.
You like
I
that?
didn't like that. I do.
Is there any way to?
We wouldn't need to Photoshop it, we could have just programmed it in there, it would have been easier, for the same time, for the same time.
This year you'll program it.
Is there any way, I know we talked about it last time, or somewhere in the past, usually the principal or something talks about the kid. Is there any ways, and then we would get to know some teachers, would the teacher have to come and talk, I don't know if we're allowed about policy, when they put the policy, but if they come and they describe the student, like, oh, hey, this is Sarah, and she's a great student.
Oh,
This way I get to see this, I get to see.
Most of them are here.
They're here anyway.
Most, a lot of them are here.
Maybe they come up
They're
and
the
talk.
ones that, I agree with you, they're the ones that
Right.
recommend.
I know,
Like,
like,
so
And they do the
got a
write-up, they do
teacher.
the write-up for the principal.
I think that would be nice, if the teacher recognized the kid who got the student of the month with
I
like.
guess
Yeah,
they really do know.
Yeah.
The principal's really just reading it, right?
I'll be honest
They
with
know
you,
it too. but-
I 100% agree with that, because as the kid, like, and no offense to the principal as an administrator, but like, the kid loves the teacher. You're like, wants to hug the teacher, like, when they're after, like, they get recognized.
Nobody wants to hug you?
No, not really. I don't want to hug either. The assistant principal's not a huggable.
No.
I get hugs.
You get the water tank,
Well, you get, I get the dunk tank.
the dunk tank, yeah.
With a hose. Water balloons.
Talk about measuring.
For number 3, is there any way that the parents could be added in there too? Like it says input from the students and staff, like what about parents? Maybe including that too, like somehow, ask them or?
You know what, I had it in there.
Oh, you
and
did?
I took it out, so I'm like, well, I should have left it in there. But, I mean, I agree.
Yeah, just to make sure everybody's.
I think it's just a triangle. I think all those are very important, and with the parents and parent is an extension of a student, so if everyone is happy and satisfied with everything that's going on, it's just gonna be a win-win for everyone.
If my student comes home from school happy, I'm happy.
Yep.
My student's achieving, recognized, I'm really happy,
Yep.
Good.
All right. Let's,
Any other comments on that one?
I think we're done, right? Excellent, okay.
Can I
go.
ask one question?
Sure.
Because I feel like at different points throughout this year, this has kind of permeated a lot of conversations in different ways. And I don't want to turn around and be a downer when we're all feeling really good about how this is going. But I feel like we've talked a lot about discipline this year and disciplinary issues and things like that. So I guess my question is, under sort of what goal or how could we address that or try to kind of sort of improve maybe consistency, or I don't know what the terminology would be, but consistency. And I'm asking about it here because I feel like this kind of goes to how everybody's perceiving their experiences in school. And you know, if kids are upset because it's like, well, this one didn't even get in trouble when he did this and I did this, and there's sort of a lack of consistency and disciplinary issues or different things like that. Is it appropriate to address it under this goal, or to kind of?
We have a safety goal coming up.
Oh,
That's right.
I'll save it then.
So, discipline could be a part of safety.
Okay.
Because lack of discipline can be unsafe. So it's probably a bit, yeah. So we have one more.
It'll bleed over. It'll bleed over. The accomplishments in that goal will absolutely bleed over into the climate and culture.
I guess that's why I asked here, because in my mind, I'm like, a positive culture kind of goes hand in hand with feeling secure and feeling happy and sort of not having your day disrupted or having a challenging day. So I guess that's why I'm thinking it kind of goes hand in hand.
I agree with what you're saying, because if students understand what the rules are and they're following the rules, it does lead to a positive school climate and culture.
Right.
I also think,
If you're updating the code of conduct, you're updating, like, you know what I mean, infractions.
I
We
also,
felt that, also, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, I also think that there should be like consequences, like for things that are happening, because I feel like a lot of stuff keeps continuing on because there really is like no real consequence. Like getting sent to the counselor to talk about what you did wrong, like that should be a given, but that's not really a punishment. And I think that's being like said, like, well, they went to the counselor, so that was like their punishment. That's not really a punishment, and that's not really like a consequence. That should be like a given, you know what I'm saying? So.
One of the things that I've tasked Meg with, well, I talked to both of them and she said, I'll do it, because there's a lot more discipline that goes on in a middle school than in an elementary. It looks a little different. So she goes, I'll work on it for both schools. And one of the things I tasked her to do is to create, because it's supposed to be in there according to policy, there should be a document as part of the code of conduct that delineates
First
this,
offense,
first
second
offense,
offense.
this,
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a continuum of possible consequences.
Yes.
And you can go from here to here, all in one, if it's egregious enough. Like,
Yeah.
And so she is doing that. She's looking at other exemplars, and then we'll take a look at it, share with Jarlin, and do that. So it'll be clear. It'll be printed in the handbook. Kids can see it, parents can see it. But also remembering, and maybe this just needs to be something that principals talk about, is that discipline is progressive generally, unless it's egregious. It does start with a warning and a this and a, until you get to the other. So.
Right, but that's why I mentioned parents. I think parents need to be part of that because they will enforce that in the household and making sure your child does not do anything outrageous in school. And that's why I think they should be part of that climate.
Like, if you're in trouble at school, you're in trouble at home.
Right.
We're actually required to have parents, I know that's like a QSEC item. We're required to have parents sign off that they reviewed the code of conduct. I think a lot of people sign it and don't review it. But really what that tells us, like, we're in this together. These are the expectations and you're responsible. You know about the code of conduct, you're responsible at home to either review with your child. But parents are supposed to sign off at the beginning of the year. Also, staff is supposed to be trained every year on the code of conduct. So that's something that we have to do as well, is ensure that once we have this updated code of conduct, that staff is trained on it, so that everyone's on the same page. There's continuity amongst the both schools that this is how we do discipline, and this is our code of conduct.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was trying to ask. Started out trying to ask. Before we,
And we gave safety its own goal, because we felt like things that have happened this year, but under that safety umbrella, we could touch upon all these different things.
Yeah, why don't we, let's talk about it, let's talk about safety and security. I think it's,
No, let's go.
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There we go.
Do we want to do safety now, or do we want?
Sure.
Okay, all right, goal 4, safety, facilities and technology and finance.
So last year it was titled Facilities and Finance. I just broke out technology separate so it could be highlighted there. And this is just basically saying that the district is committed to identifying and addressing both the facility needs and the financial needs. That's a pretty simple statement, but that's what we're here for, right? As the board is figuring out what the district needs, long-term and short-term, and figuring out how to make that happen. So the activities under this will be an assessment of the short and long-term facility and technology needs. The facility priority list was made this year, so that could just continue. Excuse me. And the 3 to 5 year, one of the action items I'm sure for you is going to be, Charlie, to do the 3 to 5 year facility plan, since that was not done this past year. so that you can budget, so the student knows how to budget for the, getting new devices, making sure that you're not having big ticket swings, from year to year because you have to replace 150 Chromebooks, that you're doing them on a cycle.
That's a great idea, and I know the technology audit, and you made a committee, and then that committee makes this plan that gets approved by the board, and then that helps us out with budgeting. And I think if we did that, that was the one thing you said, a 3 to 5 year facility plan. If we do that, then it comes to the next concept of the board, figure out how do we pay for this?
Exactly. Yep.
And that's the different options for potential referendums and such too. I think if we do that this year, that's phenomenal. You know what I mean? Of like, hey, and if you could share, use the facility thing is with the finance committee, so we can start that conversations now. You're ready, we're there, and then start to create that. If it's going to be in there anyway. So I think it's good. I don't think that's a lot of work right there. If you make a technology plan and do your 3 to 5 year facility plan, and then if Sue just keeps exploring with shared services under finance, that's all I was going to suggest for financial purposes, like outside resources. I mean, you could get lost in the weeds on this one if you just keep, just my opinion, a couple very specific actionable items that we could end the year with, which is definitely measurable right away, that you have the plan, you have the technology plan.
Right.
Yeah.
And the technology needs I just want to say, would include technology infrastructure, not just devices.
Okay.
I just want to say one thing. I have shared this with Sue and with Jarlin, but one other thing that I have observed that I think is a vulnerability here, and it's a vulnerability in a lot of small districts, is the fact that we have a tech department of one. So he's responsible for everything. What if he is in a situation where he can't be here? God forbid he's sick or whatever. I mean, the man is on call all the time. And so I took it upon myself to at least reach out to the mini regional roundtable and talk to them about it at one of our meetings. And I said, here's how I'm feeling. Who would cover us if there is an issue? And they're all having the same situation because they have a department of one. I said, so I don't know if the board has an interest in this, but would you guys have an interest in at least exploring the idea of some sort of an agreement where we cover for each other? So if Franklin has an issue, Dan would have enough access that he might be able to go over and help. Sort of like the maintenance thing with Jefferson, right?
Yeah.
Either that kind of a model, or one of them said, or maybe even in the future go toward a regional technology coordinator that has knowledge of all the districts. So whether you go that
Better pricing too.
Yeah, so whether you go that way or not, I think it might be a model you might want to explore. And they seem to have some interest in talking
That's a
about
good
it.
idea. I like that
It's a
idea.
good idea. There are so many good ideas coming out tonight. Thank you very much.
And then,
Other thoughts, yeah.
And then this is a very broadly worded activity, so I know that Darwin will drill down on this, but prioritizing the financial needs of the district. And this is going to lean heavily on Sue and Jarlin, because they're going to have to look at everything, like what's going to happen when Chapter 44, sunsets for health insurance. What's going to happen if this new legislation that Senator Gopal has put out about possibly creating a whole different health trust fund or whatever, and I don't know if that's going to have any traction. And then they're going to have to look at, obviously, working with the special ed director, looking at the long-term needs of our special ed programming in-house, as well as possibility still of out-of-district students. So a lot will go into that one. But so I'm sure you'll have a few different activities that come out of that. And then planning for the intentional improvements based on identified needs. This is both in terms of finances, technology, and facilities. But being very intentional, not just having the list, but starting to develop those plans that we need to address them.
All good?
Excellent.
Excellent. Very is the word. Okay. Safety goal number 5.
Why don't you speak to this with Darwin, because this is the one you really wanted to add.
Yeah, so we gave safety and security its own goal. I think for reasons that everyone is aware of. I know that through the interview process and also just having conversations with staff, it seems that there have been ongoing concerns about safety. And also just conversations and conducting almost like an informal needs assessment of the district. Monica and I have identified areas that we think need to be enhanced or addressed immediately in terms of safety. For example, work with for assessment team. That's something that needs to like begin in September. Things like protocols of entering and students exiting the building during pickup. So small things, but that if they're continued to be overlooked, God forbid, it could lead to a big breach of security. Also, we want to make sure that we're moving towards practices that our staff feel safe. Like some of those classrooms where there may be more aggressive behaviors and things like that in response to things that happened this year as well. So this goal is kind of going in all kinds of directions, but it's all under that safety umbrella. So that's why we gave it its own goal. We're already looking at PD for the threat assessment. There's going to be PD over the summer. Monica is helping with that. We've already identified key staff members that should be participating in that professional development. The state does give guidance in terms of who should be on that team. It seems like there were teams identified. Is that recording? Is that recording? Okay. I don't like to talk a lot about safety in public. It's discouraged. But that's an area that we're going to be focusing on. And then just revisions of, like you said, protocols and training. Those are really, I think, the biggest things that are going to impact. And then from there, we could get more specific with really the training, the protocols, and safety and security in terms of just having also just continuity. Like, think practices should be the same at the elementary school and the middle school in terms of safety practices. So,
I just want to elaborate on a couple of things. I added at the end of the second bullet, not only in consultation with local and state authorities, but also in accordance with existing board policy, because I heard that loud and clear and have continued to from staff that they felt that there weren't protocols that were consistent with what is already in policy. So I think it's really important that we can give the staff the knowledge that we are paying attention to what's in policy, getting the right training, and putting the protocols and practices in place that need to be there. And in consultation with local and state authorities, yes, working with our local police and fire department, working with the state police on things like reunification, which is, I told you guys in one of the updates several weeks ago. We have a rapid response team. Every school district in the county does. So working on things like county-wide types of practices. And also, I've been spending a lot of time talking to Mr. Codner, the RPO, and he's going to become the new school safety specialist. He's getting his week-long training this summer. It used to be Dr. Ryder, so now Ron is going to be the new safety specialist. And he has created a whole list of things that he has concerns about and ideas for. So he's taking this super seriously, and I know he's really anxious to sit down with you and talk about his his ideas.
Good person to have do that.
Yeah, very good. That's a good idea.
Happy to hear that.
Yeah, he's totally embracing it. And
is there any way, like, all of the teachers, like not even just certain ones, like every single teacher can get some kind of like course or class, or does everybody sit down and have a meeting with them on like how to react to like certain circumstances? Because I feel like we're telling the kids, like, if something happens right away, go to the teacher, so like things don't like get worse. And then if they're going to the teacher and the teacher's answer is like, well, I didn't see it happen. I mean, that's not really an answer, because then the kid's standing there like, what the heck, I went to the teacher and did what I was supposed to do when they did nothing. So it's like they have to know how to like react to certain things when kids are coming to them for help, like not just be like, oh, it didn't happen, I didn't see it happen. Because I mean, that's not like helping them at all. It's actually making it worse. So I mean, if somebody can just, like have a meeting with them, like tell them if a kid's coming to you, like actually take what they're saying seriously, look into what they're saying, like investigate it or question it. Don't just kind of like, sweep it under the rug like it's not real.
Yeah. Are you referring to incidents of like an emergency response?
No, just basically like a conflict or like anything. Basically, not just like an emergency response, but like a conflict that's going on.
I think that's probably where like training comes a lot into play, to make sure that there's consistency in terms of how we address things like this.
And this is where you'll add an action plan for discipline and code of conduct.
Yes.
I mean, I understand what Dana like to see a balanced approach. So like, yes, it's
Yeah.
important. There's remedial measures and
Yeah.
there's traditional consequences.
Yes.
So it's just like, I think that there's talk a lot of the buzzword restorative practices, restorative justice is key, but I do agree, like, in life, if you get pulled over and you're speeding, you're not just gonna get talked to, you're gonna get a ticket. So
Yeah.
there's a balanced approach. I think communication, goes with this one too, protocols and practices for discipline. Parent contact should be like part of that. There's just been, inconsistencies to my understanding of like, a parent is contacted because of X but not Y, or, or when they're contacted, I think as well too. I've experienced good and, I've heard both outcomes too. So I think that would go with, that itself goes with goal, I think was goal 2, family and community partnerships as well too, by like, a specific protocol in place, like when do we contact home about discipline or about conflict or about different things, or for that matter, who contacts home? Is it a parent? Is it an administrator, a counselor, a teacher? Or, I think there hasn't been that protocol in place here of like, so it's inconsistent. So I think that goes with safety, security as well. I mean, we are pretty informed. I think I could say this, like, what if there hasn't been too many emergencies, but like, the standard drills when they happen, we're notified, like, so if there's police presence, community, or us as a board, like in the past, have been pretty notified about things. So if we continue, I'm sure continue that practice, so like.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking on what you just said, if there was anything that like really majorly happened and somebody had to call like a parent to tell them, who's the person that's supposed to do that? Is there like assigned a person, or is like whoever's just free has to pick up the phone and call them?
No, so, I mean, in my practice, what I've done in the past, is usually if it's something small, like Johnny had a difficult day today, the teacher. But usually when it's disciplinary infractions that are either multiple or of increased severity, the school administrator will make a call. I think it's more situational. I have seen situations where it's very appropriate for the teacher to say, like, listen, Johnny had a difficult day today, or he had a conflict with a P, or just wants you to let you know. But usually if the disciplinary infraction, like I said, is serious, the building administrator will call.
Yeah, because I think it's so important that we have that in place, because there shouldn't be like a kid coming home, or like when you're picking them up, they're coming out and telling you something major that happened, and you're like, why wasn't I called? Like, that has to be like, definitely a guideline there.
Well, falling under the code of conduct, there was an idea brought up of, obviously, it's the hip, right? And there's like a gray area of like, is it not, is it, right? So, if it doesn't hit all the criteria, we did kick around an idea where a punishment, instead of going to a hip extent, but maybe there's a film or something that the parents have to come and watch with their kid. And it would be a code of conduct, or we could pick up some videos that, hey, this is how you're supposed to treat students. Something where the parents involved now. It's not a hit, but it's been a lot. It hit a few of the boxes. Maybe you should come in and out, because I'm looking at it as a deterrent. Like if my son does this, now I got to go to school. So now at home, I'm going to tell him, hey, what's going on? And cut it out. Whatever you're doing, cut it out. I'm just thinking it's a way of maybe helping the parents get involved, of eliminating whatever is happening. It could just be, horseplay, but to a certain degree,
I know that, for example, when there is an investigation and there are findings that are corroborated and it doesn't necessarily meet the definition of HIB, usually the practice is, is that there are remedial measures or disciplinary measures. Just because you didn't meet the definition of HIB doesn't mean that it gets brushed away. What those remedial measures look like, something that administration can talk about in terms of the involvement of parent. But I'm sure that that's the practice here. Usually when there is some type of infraction, even if it doesn't meet HIB, it has to be followed up with code of conduct. And code of conduct, I'm sure now that we're going to update it, usually includes punitive measures, but also remedial measures. So something like that could be a remedial measure, maybe, talking to the parents, seeing how the parent can support us in terms of helping their child, maybe involving the counselor and the parent, maybe having a meeting with the counselor and the parent and the child. Those are all different kinds of scenarios that could fall under the remedial part.
And the HIP policy itself has an entire page of
remedial measures.
I know a lot of parents that they say that they come come in and are complaining, and then obviously they say, oh, you know, what's been done about it, right? And no one's allowed to know.
Which makes it really tricky for us.
It's very tricky, I
No
get
one
it.
is satiated when they're
Right,
like,
no one's happy,
we're doing
yeah.
something, but we can't tell you.
No one's happy, but I'm thinking if that was all right, we met this criteria, you gotta come in and see a video. At least the parent who it happened to would maybe get a little closure, like, hey, that was one of the terms.
Even in video, just like, there's a parent meetings, you know, like, you might think of it's a punishment on you, you have to come in and have a meeting with the administrator, but it still has weight, you know what I mean? Because now you're like, now I have to go into a meeting, what do you do? Even, I'm not even talking about watching a video, you're like, you know, you're sitting at a table with your student and administrator and the counselor talking about actionable things that happen in school, that, you know, that does have weight, you know, like because now it's hitting your pocket, you know, and then that's a conversation, unfortunately, I mean, as my role I have, like, you got suspended, now mom's gotta come in and bring you in for a meeting, and now it does have it works, because now mom's missing like a couple hours of work,
Right.
and then like, but it's not just, that's not the intention, but it's just the conversation, and you're building that relationship to, like, you know, to ensure that it hopefully does not happen again. And I think, like, I'm sure that happens, but to the weight of there, if it's substantial enough, having parents in to have meetings, I think it's face to face, you know what I mean? It's definitely advantageous to, like, especially if they're young and it's going on and they're in third grade or fourth grade, they're gonna be like, we want to nip it in the bud before it grows and it escalates to, like, significant behavioral issues when they get to middle school, or for that matter, high school.
It's a deterrent for the student too, because usually
They don't want mom or
They
dad.
don't love sitting with the principal or their mom and the guidance counselor.
But I think we should actually have those actions listed somewhere. So even though we don't know what the particular consequence is, but at least we know, oh, like if this happens, this is what they're gonna go through. So then people don't imagine like what actually did take place. If that took place, you have a list of actions.
It sounds like we're gonna be better tracking of what happens.
And you have that'd be fantastic, like third offense, this is X equals Y.
I think also that would help our group, there, like anecdotally, I think we think certain things, and to the degree that we know what's true or not true, we don't know because we can't know.
Right.
If you guys, you know, all back to data collection, if you're tracking the data and this equals this, to the degree that you can report it out to us at the end, it would help in clarify what we think may or may not be happening, because at least there's being tracked by you guys. Yeah, because we just don't know.
Yeah, and those HIP reports that are in the executive session minutes and all, and there's a suspension report in
There are,
too.
yeah.
So you do get that data on the, you know, what happens for HIP, whether it be restorative or punitive or both, and you do get the information on in-school and out-of-school
Yeah.
suspensions.
Is the public allowed to get that?
It's reported out though, right?
SSDS reports.
It's in the report the district has at the end of the year,
Yes.
but it's not specific.
Twice a year.
SSDS.
Yeah, SSDS and the ESDR.
They,
So I think that's
EVDRS, they
EVDRS.
changed that to SSDS.
And then that's twice a year that,
Yep.
I
Those
think
are
it's
just,
May.
you guys get numbers.
Yeah,
Just
they
numbers,
get
but it's
numbers.
not.
We had blank
Oh, yeah.
kids, blank physical conflicts, fights. So we have that, but not suspensions.
No seclusions,
Yeah.
restraints, or whatever. they
And weren't
are.
we talking about trying to keep more track of that so the board was more aware of like, hey, this.
But you could do that, we have that now on a monthly basis to the point where it's in the it's in the folder.
It's in the folder.
It says-
Someone used the term, I think it was you used the term that you guys track something. I know you weren't using the track, but there was this
You have
specific,
to,
like, program that you guys, maybe you mentioned it.
Real time,
Real time? Is
that's
that
like,
You can
We don't
document
do
in
it,
that,
right?
I don't know, you can do it in the student information system, what the infraction is and what the consequences that's associated with it, but that,
yes, it is being tracked. I did ask that it be tweaked a little bit, because you have to do a civil rights report also, a civil rights data report at the end of the year, and if you have everything tracked properly in real time, it will spit that information out for you, and you're not left trying to gather all of it. So it's being tracked in there, everything from phone calls home to parents to detentions to suspensions. I don't think it was being used as much if it was like an initial warning to a kid, but I explained it needs to be in there because if I've talked to a kid and then Jarla's talked to the kid,
right.
and then you know, Meg has talked to the kid, somebody's gotta see that the kid's been talked to 3 times, so, yeah. So, it wasn't being as used as robustly as it could have been, but that is something that is happening now.
But then if that is, to Eddie, your point, then they could, at a committee or something, or an executive session, they could share on a quarterly, or if you wanted a quarterly basis, they're sitting down, we're gonna do 10 minutes in executive, which means it's gonna be 40 minutes. But then you're gonna like share out, this is the data, and then you have like, you would be able to see, you wouldn't be able to see student IDs and numbers.
No,
but you
we
could
just
say,
say
you're gonna be like, oh, there was
infractions.
10 cell phone infractions.
Right, 10
this quarter.
infractions. Just so we're up there.
Yeah.
Because we get blindsided with a hit, and then all of a sudden the parents going, oh, it should be a hit, and we don't know nothing about it really. At least we could follow the track throughout the whole year. We'll have a little better idea of how to determine what we want to do.
And I think we went back to that practice this year with, and Monica did it tonight, of like going over kids and executive, like doing that, and explaining to the extent of what Monica could share, but like you could ask a little bit more poignant questions in there rather than in public, and it is protected like student safety, you know, like a privacy. So I think continuing that helped, I think, a little bit with the board of like, you know, understanding the ins and outs of why it's a hit or why it's a code of conduct, and you know, I think that's continue that practice. My point.
Regarding safety, just to close this one out, with the change in the cell phone legislation with not being required, not being allowed at all. I know they're not allowed at all here anyway, but do you anticipate anything changing, or how that any concerns parents may have about safety with students having access to phones, and now that they don't have or not supposed to have access to it? Has that been amended?
Strauss Esme is still, I think we should get it any day now. They're still putting together final guidance based on that initial guidance document that was released by the state, because there still are exceptions. You know, diabetic kids can still have them.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, so there still will be some exceptions, and that is something that you and I need to talk about. We've got to figure out what you want us to do. Are we going to do pouches in the rooms, or are they going to have to leave them in their locker? I don't know. Got to figure out more.
I mean,
like limited use too is like, so often away is the language that I hear the state saying a lot, because even for a lot of districts that don't have money to buy like the pouches or the things, it's like, it's out of sight, out of mind, and but it's often away. You know what I mean? So if it's out, then that would be part of your code of conduct. If a student has it out, you follow through these procedures, X, Y, Z, and like, you know, like, you know, first it's morning, second time mom has to pick it
Because
up.
that goes back to parent, that would, if the parents had to come and pick up the phone, that's another thing that would.
I just think
Back
that,
2 years ago in my district, parents have to come pick up the phones. In my office, locked away, I've had like, I called a parent, you need to come pick up your child's phone. I was like, oh, you can put it away. I'm not coming to get it. It's fantastic. It worked, but it's something simple. Don't make it more complicated, because like if it's off and away, then it's just very simple. If I see it, I take it. If I see it, I take it. It's like.
I think that a lot of parents want the kids to have a cell phone in case, God forbid, something happens, like they have a cell phone with them. Like, God forbid, like something major happens. Let's say there's like a school shooting or something, or somebody's in the school, at least they'll have their cell phone to like contact the parent. But if we're keeping it in the locker, then they can't get to it because they'll be locked in the classroom, so it's kind of pointless. So if there was just like a shoebox even on the teacher's desk, they all just drop the phones in there, turn them off. Like, at least if something happens, God forbid, their phones are still in the room with them. Because otherwise it's just pointless to have it locked in a locker or in their backpack in the locker, because they still can't get to it. So it kind of just defeats the whole purpose of why the parent wanted them to have the phone to begin with. I don't think they're giving them the phone to like sit there and like go on YouTube with it during class. They want it for like protective reasons.
And that's the challenge, is that like, you know, my argument with that would be is that like, I don't want your child to have their phone going off to then indicate to somebody who is the security risk that there's people in that room.
Right.
So like, that would be my counter argument to that. And I've had that same conversation with parents, but it goes to the whole point, if it's off and away, how do I know where it is? You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like, but when you pull it out, then it's a concern. Because to the point I just heard you say is like, you know, they're not doing it to tech, they're using it for, you know, it's an internet-enabled device. You can do anything on a phone anymore. It's not a flip phone. You know, it's a computer. And I feel like that's I get what you're saying, but like, I'll be honest, the classroom is the safest part for them. And I say this as, you know, I have 3 children, 2 of them with phones, but like, I'd rather more like them knowing that they don't make a noise in the room or something dings which then alerts to that security concern that there's somebody in that. Because part of it, and I know you, I respect what you said, Darlene, you don't want to talk about procedures and protocols in public in place, but the district has them to try to deter as much as possible, say, you know what I mean, this, like, a concern from happening. And it's cell phones dinging, and me on the phone talking to my child in the classroom, are you okay? That goes counterintuitive to the whole point of what security measures in place are in the classroom. And that just put that as an educator perspective.
And sadly, there's been so many occasions of it where law enforcement has so much guidance on these topics too. There's so much guidance coming externally because sadly it's happened far too often.
And we have to even look at smartwatches and all that.
Yeah, and glasses.
Yeah.
Smart glasses too.
Oh, yeah, meta glasses.
All right, good.
Okay,
Good.
I think we've got goal 5 too, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Nice work, everybody. Let's see. So, thorough understanding of the goals.
Can I throw one more thing in there? One quick thing?
Are you sure you want to do that, Ed? This better be good. What have you got? What have you got? We're on the next slide.
This may be your song, Drew. Do we have anything in maybe you're doing it already, but we're going like back in time almost, or teaching things that, you know, you don't learn about until you're an adult. And I'm just gonna rattle off what I wrote down, like a little cooking class, maybe even making PB&Js nowadays or something silly, because I know we can't do cooking, or some banking, checks, 401ks, savings, mortgage, interest rates, principals, you know, write-offs on your taxes, basic change, a tire of a car, you know, if it's a fake car, you know, whatever, anything, do we do anything like that now?
Yes,
Or can we
I
implement
saw
that?
a beautiful lesson a few weeks ago in a 4th grade classroom over at the elementary school, and they were talking about interest and mortgages, and they were breaking up into groups, and the kids were having to problem solve, and they were and they were amazing. And I saw it was all kind of financial literacy things going on. As far as some of the other things, we talked a lot about life skills, trying to infuse life skills to some of these kids. So yes, some of that is happening, and the financial literacy is absolutely happening because it's in the standards.
And required.
It's required. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good question, Ed.
Yeah.
5 goals, that's a lot of goals, but good for you. Good.
Feeling busy.
Yeah, that's a limit, like, you know how you go into that school board's template? You can't go past 5 goals if you have more than that, like, you're at the max, so, nice. But it's gonna be a busy year, it's gonna be a busy year. Board goals are different. You know, spoiler alert, I was talking to Brian about these board goals before we convened tonight, when we powwow with administration to get ready for this evening. And these are your goals from last year. So there are a couple of them that probably don't need to be renewed based on, you know, how you move through the last school year successfully. Let's start from the bottom. School-sponsored events and community events. We were talking, an awful lot of you are parents. You're going to those things already. So I don't know if that needs to be renewed. I mean, the tail end of that goal, of course, is about always acting in accordance with board bylaws and the School Ethics Act. You don't just march into school unannounced. You know that all the policies still apply to you. You know, if somebody tries to corner you and, you know, get you to, like, talk to that teacher because you're on the board and you know, they're going against the homework policy. You're not doing that, right? But I think that this one is something that may not be a worthy goal for next year. What are your thoughts on it? Because I think you guys are doing it already. I think it's just part of what you do. What are
I have
your
a question
thoughts?
about, like, the number one priority, and this maybe for you, Jarlin, is coming in, is the 5-year strategic plan is up this year in 27. So I'm more of like, for you, Jarlin, is like, is that something you would like to do like year 1, or is that something you would like to do year 2? Because if we don't do it this year, then we don't have a plan for next year. So I feel like it just the only actionable thing that we should do as a board
board this year is probably do another strategic plan, because it ends this year. And that would be the whole, and for you, it's just like, it's a lot, I know you just created 5 goals, but I think to keep the district moving forward, usually you go from the end, the last year of a 5-year plan, you do a strategic plan for the 5 years. So I think we should be doing that this year. And I'm just looking at you as like, you're okay to do that, because that's a lot.
I'm leaving. Just kidding.
I think you want it. Don't you want it? Come on.
I think we can, and probably do it in the spring.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have the fall months. Because I know that there are districts that do it in the fall, right? I've done it in the spring.
That used to be, the
and I
fall
loved it
used
in
to
the
be my
spring.
favorite time, but not anymore, because people are not coming out in the fall. They're just not. On paper, it looks like the perfect time. But you're right, the spring is what draws people.
Better participation in the spring?
Yeah,
Do you?
yeah, believe it or not.
I think.
And what's nice about it is that you write it up, and then
For the next
you've
school year,
got,
it
it's
starts
in place for goal setting in the summer.
Sure.
I just did it in Mansfield, and we had a lot of nice turnout. Last time I happened to facilitate it, and I know that there was a lot of expense. Remember, you paid for mailers to go to it.
But it was like also, it was COVID too.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, yeah, I remember being
Back people were together for.
Yeah,
We had nobody.
people were not coming, and they were kind of dropping off at the end, so.
Yeah.
I think there are, just by virtue of it being, 2020, I guess it'll be 27, think conditions are better on the ground. But I also think there's kind of lessons learned from that you can apply to,
I think like late spring would be a good time.
And I think, quite frankly, I think a lot of people are gonna come out just to meet the new superintendent. And it's a great way of helping to establish you as the new educational leader of Bardstown Township,
I like doing it in the spring, because then it gives you
Yeah.
your time to like.
Get to know things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're not just boom going. You're
Mhm.
doing. You got some time to like think and
Yeah.
talk to people and do it like, in your role.
Yeah, exactly.
Because a big part of the first meeting is really giving a state of the district, right? If we do it in the fall, I don't know what the state of the district. I don't know what the state of the district is.
Tell me.
So I'm like, oh, okay, I just got invited. But in the spring, I'll have a better understanding of, progress towards these goals.
Oh, yeah, all the data that you're talking about.
Data that we're
Yeah.
going to, so it's definitely something we could do, I think, late spring.
Okay.
So I am going to take what you said, and I mean, we've got these 4 goals, and we could discuss one by one. At least 2 of them, I don't think you need anymore. The training one, too, you guys have been real good on your training. But we could just replace that all with one goal, which is to ensure the facilitation of a strategic plan in the spring of 2027.
Well,
We need
I
it.
like that first one we talked about actually having some type of reporting system to hear how things are progressing and how we're doing. I like to keep the first one, maybe not on a monthly basis, but maybe,
Quarterly.
right.
That's kind of what was happening. He would give updates quarterly.
Okay. You want to keep that goal just in place, just to keep it?
I mean, I don't mind it. It's just like keeps it like the communication and focused on what our goals are.
Sure. Yeah. And I think as it's written is good, right?
Yeah, just
Okay.
change monthly to quarterly.
Okay, sounds good. How about number 2? Board members will come to committee and board meetings prepared to discuss and vote on matters before the committee and or the board in a productive and respectful manner.
Aren't we kind of doing that already?
I think we all come prepared.
We are now.
Yeah, I think we are.
That's true.
I think so, too.
They're not here.
I mean, I guess the only thing I would say on this is that I feel like we spend a lot of time discussing things that are not as big a priority as the things we really need to be focused on. And I don't have a solution. But
I think we're actually nipping that in the bud. I think a little bit. I think that's getting better. I think we would all agree on that. I think we're all cleaning that up as we go.
I guess what I'm thinking is like, and I don't want to speak for anybody else, and again, I don't want to sound like a broken record. I keep saying like, oh, we do this, but I don't know if part of it is just sort of understanding. I governance aspect, because that's so big, but sort of the breakdown of different committees. Like, I'll just use this as an example tonight, the discussion we had on policy 2260. I feel like there's just not, we had that whole conversation in the context of a policy, and on some level what we're really talking about is curriculum or programming. So I feel like kind of having, for all of us to have a better understanding of that, could maybe help us be more efficient of sort of the best way to address things like that. Does that make sense? Am I explaining this well?
One thing you could
It does.
consider at the end of maybe Charlie's first year, you guys could consider if you want to keep your committee or your committee structure, or you want to become a committee of the whole. So everybody hears everything. I know that that's not a popular thing, but that is
editorial comment.
Kathy had a reaction.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
Happy I hear what you're saying, but there needs to be, if there's not trust between the committees, for the committees to do their work, then that has to be a conversation. But I'm hoping that the trust is getting.
There are ways, and that's the thing about, first of all, okay, I'm putting my totally biased opinion out there. I love the committee structure. I think there's a lot of strengths to it.
I do too.
And, but what I've seen in my 10 years of working with boards is that there are, the wrong word, opportunities. There are conditions on the ground that could really foment mistrust if you don't use the committee structure or system really properly. But the good news is that there's ways to get that trust back or solidify that trust. And I had that conversation a lot. I still do have that conversation a lot with school boards. And part of it, yeah, absolutely, the boards that I work with, I just talked to Glenn Rock about this because they're moving from a committee structure to, from a committee of the whole to committees. Consistency is important in reporting out the work that the group does.
So is it reporting, do you mean reporting out at the Board of Ed meeting? We meet in the committee and then reporting out to the Board of Ed?
Primarily to the board. How you guys do that is up to you, right? Whether you're going to have the same, well, because it's just, so I think that what the community should hear about your committee reports should be brief, just so that they have an idea. They're not on the board, right? So it doesn't need to be like a summary, a summary. But board members probably, board members should be seeing committee minutes, committee meeting minutes. And there should be a format for that. There should be a format for that. I was just talking to a board president who, not in Glen Rock, a different district, they're going from committee of the whole to a committees. And one of their committee chairs is like, well, I'm not going to use the same format. I'm just going to do my own thing. And I'm like, you know what? You should get, that person gets a demotion. They really shouldn't be the committee chair. Because the whole thing is starting to, you see that, Sue, right? Like the foundation is starting to crack before you even put the house up, right? But if everybody knows what to expect from the committee minutes, right? And everybody knows what the agendas are, even if you're not on the committee, so you know what they're going to be discussing, you know the outcomes of those discussions, then you feel pretty good about, what's going on and what led up to the recommendations that the committee makes that ultimately make it on the agenda.
So I guess like after a committee meeting, you'd report out to the board as a whole. I don't want to say privately, because I guess you can't really do that, but prior to the public meeting, we discussed X, Y, and Z, we consider ABC input, here's what we decided, and here's why we decided.
It's on a form. It's on a form.
In the drive.
I probably have a sample form.
Maybe that would be helpful, so
Public
that.
meeting. I mean, the first report is typically here.
That could be really helpful, just so that everybody knows prior to sitting here in this seat before the public. I don't know, maybe that could be really
Well,
helpful.
that's
a good
typical,
idea.
but that's kind of, that's the best practices,
I thought we were doing that.
No, we're not.
We don't
We're
share
reporting
our
in
No,
public.
we don't have the report, the committee chairs don't share out a report to the whole board prior to the report they give publicly here.
We should do that.
No, I think that's a good
Yeah,
suggestion.
I think, and there's a difference between a report and minutes, right? So the minutes is more detailed, right? And that should probably, there's sort of a system. Someone on the committee is responsible for taking the minutes. it's the committee chairperson, but if they're really bad at it, they might delegate it to somebody else, right? But it should follow a particular format.
Is that the right thing to me?
I'm so
I don't know.
sorry. I know. I'm looking at you so intensely. I have no idea how you take this, right? But
I mean, Mike used to.
I know shorthand. Go ahead.
You do? Wow.
I'm on the top.
That's pretty cool. Somebody takes the minutes, and the committee, typically the committee chair or whoever took the minutes would work with the superintendent, say, what do you think? Are these minutes good? Yes, no, did we miss anything? Then share it out to the committee, did we miss anything? No, looks good. And it's not a transcript, it's still, it's not exactly broad, but it's not super detailed either. The committee says, yep, this looks good, then you share it out to the full board. And that should happen within 3 days of the meeting, right? Ideally. I know everybody has lives, busy lives, so it might be adjusted a little bit. And so you're getting them on that basis, right? It's not like they all come out at once unless all your committees meet on the same day.
They do.
Then they might, right? But it comes out before the board meeting. And then the committee report looks different.
Okay.
It's a summary.
You might need to consider moving your committee meeting dates to give you more time, because it's Thursday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
following
Right, like
Tuesday,
a week
the board
prior
meeting
or
starts.
something.
Yeah, I mean.
That's like the trade-off, because we have to, historically had them close, that way the agenda is as close to complete as it's gonna look at the board meeting, as close as it is to the board meeting, so.
That is really close.
Because that way there's
I
less
think-
likely to have additions,
I
but.
think if you both the way the structure that it is right now, the only thing that is, it's like, because you go through the actual items that are on the agenda, which is just, it is what it is. I'm thinking if I'm the chair and I'm taking my minutes, I could just put a bullet underneath the action, if there's anything to share. And then the biggest thing that's gonna come up is on the bottom, the surprises or the discussion items, or the things that are on the bottom that are added, or somebody in the committee says something, or then that could just be, so if we did meetings on Thursday, because I'm just thinking of this there too, all right, I'm taking them as we go through it, I share it with you, and you as the president and the superintendent, and then you're good, and then maybe the board president sends, hey, on Sunday or Monday before the board meeting, so there's no surprises, this is the committee meetings. So it's not the report that's going out to the community, it's just the written report. It doesn't need, it's not rocket science. Just take the agenda, put bullets on it as you go through it, and on the bottom, take notes, make a copy of the agenda, that's the minutes, and on the bottom, it's really just type as we go. Hey, we're good, and then, Charlie, yeah, it's good, Brian's good. All right, one email goes out, here's the agenda, right, for next week's Tuesday meeting, and here's the committee meeting minutes for curriculum, for personnel, and for finance.
But what happens if it's not good? Let's say somebody disagrees with it. So then what? What is the point of doing this if
Disagrees with what?
The minutes would reflect what's
No,
discussed.
I
What
think
if I don't think the minutes,
something in
I
your
don't,
committee.
I don't see the minutes as passing judgment, I see the minutes as communicating what was discussed.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna be there was, like I said, there was a vigorous conversation and discussion in
Yeah, we
regards to
had it
policy,
back
blah,
and
blah, blah,
forth.
blah. You know what I mean? There wasn't consensus, but the committee, wasn't unanimous, but 3 people, 4 said that we're gonna keep it as is, so it is on the agenda as is, done. You know what I mean? So it's not gonna say which committee member said what, or which committee, but it's factual. That's the purpose of if you're the committee chairperson.
Well, it should describe the action that's ultimately
If you
taken.
but if you keep opinions out of it, it's very factual, it's objectionable data that goes there, and then so I'm thinking of it, if you had a personnel motion, if it's why, you did it for personnel, I said a little bit of it, it's like, Sue, we have to approve you again, why, Sue, because it finally got back from the executive, so that would be my bullet, came back from the executive superintendent, and that's why we're doing it again, so if people are, I get it, and I think it's good, but I don't want to add another, I don't want 3 nights of meetings, and then because I think the structure's working pretty good of having all the committees in one night, right? I don't want, because then you're, Jarlin and everybody else, you're it's another 2 nights away, from family, and then you're for what purpose? You know what I mean?
Well, no,
I think,
yeah,
but
I
it builds,
like
if we're
the
talking about
myself.
building trust, then now we don't do minutes, and send out the agenda before the committee person.
Yeah, no, but I think we can keep everything on the same night, and it might be tight, but we can still do it Thursday night, and just get that out by either Sunday night or Monday morning. People still have 2 full days, all day Monday, all day Tuesday, to review, digest.
It can be a Sunday message out to the board, you know what I mean? So it's just like, it's
I would like
you-
to see maybe the agenda sooner than like Thursday or Wednesday night, like maybe a few days prior, what the committee is gonna be talking about. That would be
They're in there
helpful.
pretty good, like this,
Yeah, they're
I'm
pretty
just
early.
saying, we had our committee meetings on Tuesday, the agenda was there way earlier than
The
Tuesday.
agenda was there Friday.
Yeah,
But also I would like as a different committee to actually to have an open door and an ability to speak my mind or ask for things and have some type of feedback, not prior like one day before, because what I talked about today, I mean, I brought it up like in March or end of May, actually, I'm sorry, end of May. So there is several emails going back and forth, and, you know, at the end it's like, no, we're not gonna do that anyway. So, you know, for me, it's a little frustrating, and maybe that's why I would have to bring these things up in public, because yes, I didn't get my way, and I wanted to get my way, but I also want to be able to express those things and then have feedback prior, so we can avoid some of these things if we're respectful to one another and respectful among the different committees to each other. So we get this information prior, so we don't have to have any of these confrontations.
I think there might always be a question about what level of feedback is appropriate. Somebody might always want more, so we're not gonna get it perfect. I don't realistically think we are. But I feel like what we're talking about is a start. And, you know, I think it's some good ideas. I think it's a start, and maybe we try it and see how it goes.
Because the source of frustration, and Monica brought this up, is trusting the work of the other committees, and that's come up multiple times this year where things have been asked and it's either been directed back to the committee or decisions have been made in committees. And I hope something like this eases the concerns that some of you may have, or future people that sit here have, about what is going on in these different meetings. So I do think that efforts made a couple of years ago to share the agendas with everybody was helpful. But I like this suggestion of getting a more thorough feedback of the meeting prior to the public report.
And to kind of flesh out what I was just trying to say is that I don't think, somebody might always feel like they're not getting enough feedback, right? There's always that possibility that somebody could feel that way. But I think at a minimum, this will show everybody that your thoughts, concerns, input that you've raised were considered and discussed, and that nothing's being dismissed. And I guess in my mind, that's what would come out of something like this, is showing that everything has been given sort of full consideration, even if we ultimately don't reach a unanimous consensus.
Yeah, I probably missed some of that while I was typing, but what I did hear, right, is like, so that the board knows how you got to that recommendation, right? So I absolutely agree that minutes should not say, Kathy said this, Larry said that, you know, that's ridiculous, and you know. But what it might say is that the committee discussed this perspective, that issue, and so, ultimately determined either unanimously or
by majority,
2 or whatever it is, 3 to 1, what the ultimate recommendation would be.
But it goes back to now, if the board don't agree with that, Dana was bringing up, they can just come here and vote against it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because the committee does
That's
not,
good.
that's the other thing, is that committees don't, that's another thing with committees. I can't tell you how many times I heard board members call me, the finance committee and my board, they're running the district, blah, blah, blah. They don't, well, maybe.
They make a
maybe
recommendation.
something to do, but they don't, really, because the board votes on it. The board votes on it. So
I guess that's in my mind, what we need to get better is understanding that like the committee considers everything, makes a recommendation to the full board. The full board is entitled to vote how they want. Hopefully the full board thinks that the committee has done a good job and agrees with them. That might not always be the case, but that's the goal.
But it's usually the case, because that's why you have a committee system, right? Because the big trust word. You gotta trust that the committee's doing its work. You gotta trust that, okay, maybe I'm not in on the discussion about, I don't know, you know, personnel, but I know that it's being taken care of by my colleagues, right? And, oh, how do I know? Well, look, it's in the meeting minutes, right?
Sometimes
Yeah.
people just have different opinions though, and they just don't agree. I don't think it always has to do with trust.
That's
Like, I
true.
could
That's
disagree with like
absolutely
Nick,
true.
and he could disagree with me. It doesn't mean I don't trust him, he doesn't trust me, we just have different opinions
That's
on the same
absolutely
topic.
true. That is 100% true.
Yeah, so I mean, I think a lot of times people get mad, they're like, oh, you don't trust us, but it's not that it's trust, we just don't agree.
Yeah, yeah.
So not everybody's always going to agree.
And you trust them because you have evidence that they really did talk about it.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
They really do talk. And if you get those meeting minutes, right, you say, oh my God, they didn't talk about a parent perspective here, then there should be a system in place. Generally, the board member who's not on the committee calls, or should be able to call, the committee chair, right, and say, you know, Kathy, did you talk about the parent perspective at all? And have a conversation that way, you know? Because you're about to vote on this. You're about to vote on this. And a lot of those conversations when it's like, okay, discussion, sometimes those discussions really should be done away from the table because it's about your vote, right?
Yeah,
You're looking to inform your vote. You can do that pre-work. That kind of goes into that last year's board goal, you know, being prepared for meetings. So, yeah, that's a really good point. I hope we keep the committees because
Yeah.
it's a great
Yes,
way. So, and if I can be a resource on that, just let me know.
Good.
So I took the liberty of typing some board goals while we were talking. I left the other goal as it was, except I could update the community quarterly during public board meetings. The Hardison Township BOE will explore and standardize best practices for board committees, e.g. committee minutes and reports with an aim toward maximizing trust and effectiveness. I don't know, I figured we had this conversation, maybe it's not memorialize it in goal, don't have to. And then the biggie, you will renew strategic planning in the spring 2027 for a new 3-year strategic plan for the district. Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
3 years or 5 years?
I think it was
Last time I did this was 5.
5 year, right?
No,
So
It
you
was
wanna-
5 before.
You want to do a 5-year?
I think, usually, I think 5, right?
Okay.
Last one was 5.
Well, what works the best? 5? Is it too long? 3 maybe? Would be
Oh, no, like, I'm not saying, yeah, you're right.
Some of this stuff might be
But I've
done
only
in
seen-
3 years, right?
What?
I think so.
Some of this stuff's going to get done in 3 years.
I think so.
3 to 5.
Well, we could,
About 4.
well, yeah, we could put
3-5.
How about 3 to 5 years? Because
We
Charlie,
have 6 months to
let you
figure it
get
out.
your feet wet here, you know? See what you want, you know? See what you want, all right? And I don't mean to deprive you of your job here, Brian, but these are your next steps.
Oh.
you know?
Oh, mine, back to
Yeah.
click-
Oh,
clicking?
cooking, you can't even reach it, look,
I'm
I
good.
sabotaged you. But yes.
My first job was flipping overhead slides for speakers, so we're good.
So we're done. And here are my recommended next steps. You should approve your formal board goals and district goals at your next meeting. Darlene is going to supply action plans on district goals to the board. District and board goals, honestly, best practices, put it on your agendas, not just your website, but on your agendas. It's just kind of nice. You know, some of these goals, like the financial goal, like really, that's stuff you're going to be doing anyway. But it's just, and it speaks to the conversation that we had last year, that it's just good for the community to see. Yeah, they're not forgetting.
Every
their
month,
fiscal
put them on every month.
Yeah, I like that. You know,
Kathy, are you going to supply us with this summary of all the information?
I will absolutely provide you one. Yep. It's going to look a lot alike, but it will have this year's information on it. And you know, adhere to the frequency of updates like we discussed. Don't let that fall through the cracks. And then you're going to use the district goals as the basis of part 1 of the superintendent evaluation in March. Anything that anybody wants to add? That is a big screen.
That's a
big screen.
Great picture.
That smile wasn't at 10:15 at night.
No, it's 10 years old, that smile, quite frankly, but, you know. I feel like a lousy one.
I always like 10-year-old pictures better.
So what would be the target month for Darlene to have the action plans? Would it be probably like approve the goals in August and then maybe by the October meeting? She's gonna need some time to.
That's a great question. I think the board would, you know, take your lead. What are you thinking? I mean, these are brand new, but you haven't even
Yeah, you might not even be here in September, so like October would be a big goal.
I'm gonna try. I think Monica and I'd like for us to talk, get a little more grounded with the objectives. And then after we kind of know the objectives, and we'll talk to the board about the objectives, then the action plan's done, kind of just, you know.
Yeah.
Like an
I mean,
actual.
this is the first time I've done district goals with an incoming superintendent. So, yeah, I think having them for August would be really, really rapid and probably not even appropriate. So, I think we're good. I think the conversation was great, as always. A lot of great things. Thank you for having me.
Did you miss us?
I did. I feel like I'm back in the zone, man.
Feel like it's back in the winter?
It's really. Hey, you really want me to come back and talk committees? We can do it. But anyway, but of all the things that were said tonight, I gotta say the most striking thing, the thing that's gonna stay with me tonight, is you saying you were in grammar school in the 1990s, dude. Are you kidding me? Yeah, that was, yeah. Yeah, I am holy moly.
Graduated.
I was gonna give my
hardest-
not even sure.
1996, hardest in school.
Are you
I was a year behind him.
Yeah, graduated in 96.
That's good.
You graduated eighth grade, 96?
I graduated 8th grade in 96. I'm, did you graduate high school in 2000? Did you have 2000 high school? 2001, I got you. I'm 2000. You and Kevin. Yeah, you and Kevin.
High school.
I graduated high school in 2000. So. The year 2000.
Why too bad? Oh, that was a big one. Well, listen, it's always a
Thank
joy
you,
to see
Kathy.
you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you very much, as
And
always.
wish you all the best for 26, 27. Please tell Susan I said hello. I missed her tonight. And I'd be remiss for not saying congrats on a great hire. And I can't believe you're still here too. You've gone through goal setting with me too before, so
Yes.
I hope it was informative. I'm really happy for the district. I really am very happy. And
When did you graduate high school, Kathy?
86. 86 high school, so yeah. I feel like a wise old sage tonight, so thank you for that. Good night, everyone.
On that note, thank you, Kathy. Make a motion to close the meeting. Can I get a second, please? 18. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.